Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Xoxo, this is Xoxo Tarot, and in today's Pick a Stone deck card reading, we are going to be looking at what do you not see about yourself. So, we don't have a plan for today's reading. I'm really in an F it, we ball kind of mood. I still haven't even figured out like how I'm gonna build upon it. We're gonna do that later, but I just wanted to do the intro and say that this is what we're doing today, what you don't see about yourself. And maybe these things you do see about yourself, but maybe you need someone else to tell them to you. I don't know. We'll see. Pretty straightforward. If it's resonating, it's the group for you. If it's not, it's not. But I'm hoping that this reading will be very encouraging and just help you see yourself more clearly and in a more loving light. Even if there are challenging messages that come through, you know, I feel like those are just some of the most powerful messages that have just, you know, the greatest amount of love behind them, because it's, you know, the type of message that says, you know, you don't have to stay stuck somewhere, or, you know, you can be flawed and you're still lovable. We're all flawed and lovable, and that's cool. Cool. You're here, we're here. So let's talk about the 4 different groups that you can choose from today. So starting with group number 1, we are going to be using the Spiritsong Tarot. And then I think this is Alabaster. I cannot remember, but it's a type of stone that I believe is alabaster, and it has a little hummingbird carving on it on top. And then for group number 2, we are going to be using, I believe it's the Skeleton Tarot, and we have this Scolecite palm stone on top. And then for group number 3, we are going to be using the Pastel Journey Tarot, which is made by the queen herself, Vanessa Samina, so be sure to send her some love or check out her shop if you want to. And we have this pink Chalcedony cloud on top. And then finally, for group number 4, we are going to be using the Ethereal Visions Tarot, and we have our boy Ramiel on top. He is an aura-coated fluorite angel-looking thing. So with that being said, go ahead and pause the video if you need to decide which pile you feel most drawn to. It's absolutely okay to pick more than one. There are many facets of self, so it's possible that different areas could be talking about different things. You're in for a surprise. We're both in for a surprise. I'm free balling it. So I hope you guys enjoy this reading, and I hope that it brings you more love and more nurturing vibes. I hope I bring more nurturing vibes to the timeline today. And speaking of nurturing vibes, we got to do our little Make-A-Wish. Shout out to my intro squad. Intro squad, tell me what your favorite flower is. And if you don't have a favorite flower, what your favorite bird or crystal or rock. What's your favorite natural thing? Maybe you can pick a thing and then a favorite of it. I don't know. I don't care. I love hearing what you guys are into. Last time we asked about breakfast, a lot of y'all had really interesting breakfast opinions. But anyway, we are making a wish on the Empress today. I felt like these would be great energies to bring to a reading about self-love, self-care. So if you are interested in checking out any of my candles, we do have mini candles now. You can check those out. Use code XO10 for 10% off. All tarot candles, including the mini candles, come with a mini tarot card inside. So that's what we are going to use to see what your reading is. Ooh, I like to see it. Okay, we got the 6 of Pentacles. But if you want to go ahead now and just make a wish, focus on what you wish to create, and I will do the same. May yours, mine, and all of our wishes come true. Okay, so let's talk about this 6 of Pentacles, shall we? For your mini message, I'm getting a couple of things. Number 1, for some of you that are waiting for money to come in, I feel like this is a beautiful sign that it is coming to you. And I've just heard ask for help. So for some of you, if you've been thinking about asking for a temporary loan or just asking for someone to help you figure out loan things or something like that, if there's anything revolving around loans, I feel like you could be getting money to help pay those off or getting approved for some sort of loan. But there's also a message here about being aware of how much you're giving, especially if you are the type to overgive. I definitely feel like your generosity will be rewarded tenfold, and I think it's a wonderful thing. Like, shout out to the generous homies out there. It's fun to be generous, right? But I do feel like there is a small message here to be cognizant of how much of yourself and your resources you're giving away, especially if it's not in balance with what you're giving to yourself. And also, you're not obligated to feel guilty because you can't help the entire world. You can't help everyone. That's humanly impossible, and that's a silly standard to hold yourself to. It's a beautiful ideal, and I think a lot of us wish that we could just make the world better, and we all do in our own ways, right? But I definitely feel like you might be placing the weight of the world on your shoulders a little bit, no matter what your circumstances are. And I feel like the universe is really asking you to remember that you're just one person, and if you were meant to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders would be a lot bigger and beefier. And maybe they are big and beefy, and even still, that's all the more reason why you can't carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. Now I'm just thinking about beefy shoulders. Anyway, I also just think, though, that this is a time of giving and receiving. If you want dirty messages, go back to the reading I just uploaded recently. I had a fun, spicy extended there. But I definitely think that this is a time where if you've been giving a lot of yourself, this is the next coming few months might be a time where you get to receive more of that energy back, or you're being encouraged to ask for that back. You know, if you've loaned out money to people, it may be the time to kind of ask or get into the process of kind of setting boundaries there. I just heard there's a difference between generosity and being taken advantage of. So I feel like there is a need for you to look at your circumstances realistically and ask yourself, okay, is the amount that I am giving in alignment with, you know, what I'm receiving? Is this beneficial to me? Is it not? And also, I think there's a message here about gratitude, where I feel like a lot of the gratitude you've been practicing is creating a lot more abundance in your life. And if you want to create more abundance, I think gratitude is an excellent place to start. And it doesn't even have to be for what you already have. It can be for what you know you'll receive. But I also just think that there's this message here of not being so hard on yourself, that your worth is not tied to your finances, and that financial challenges are as much of a flux as anything else in life, and that everything will be okay. I definitely feel like the biggest message for a lot of you, though, is that you could be receiving money or support that you've needed, and it may just require you being willing to ask for help or being willing to ask someone to help you make that happen. But yeah, and then the other message is for those of you that have been giving a lot of yourselves, you know, make sure that that's in balance with what you're receiving, and make sure you're not giving away too much of yourself out of feeling guilty or feeling obligated to give more. But more than anything, the Six of Pentacles is a beautiful sign of good things to come, and whether you are those good things to others and you reap the benefits of that, or you receive from the generosity of others, I think it's all beneficial. But, you know, as we head into the holidays, I think the spirit of generosity is a beautiful one to carry, and one that you should not feel ashamed of. You know, in this day and age, antisocial behavior is pretty normal and even rewarded. So if you want to be part of the resistance, be generous of heart and spirit, and give of yourself in a healthy and balanced way. So that's the mini message. We're going to go ahead now and get into the reading. So thank you guys so much for being here, for letting me read for you. Welcome to all the new people. I feel like we've had an influx of new people. So shout out to the new people that are here. And yeah, I will see you in your reading. Hi there, Pile 1. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. Sorry I'm a little bit close to the mic. I promise I will move in a second. But if you guys chose this white alabaster hummingbird carving heart and the Spiritsong Tarot. This is going to be a reading on what you don't see about yourself. So we're going to lay out these cards and then we will get into it. So we have the Knight of Wands. We have the Five of Wands. We have Potential. We have the Page of Wands, which is the moth in this deck, and Feeding My Brain. We have the Wheelbarrow. I Am Connected. Afraid of the Attic. One Brick at a Time. The Taco, and the Four of Wands. Okay, all right, now moving to the normal position, so hopefully the mic sound isn't too weird, but if you didn't catch the intro, we're just going with the flow for this reading, so no structure. I had a vision of a spread in my head, but doesn't necessarily mean anything. But that has no relevance to you. Pile 1, hi, welcome. Thank you for being here. What do you not see about yourself? Okay, we have to talk about the fact that you are built different. And you're like, yeah, I see that. Yeah, but you don't. You think you do, but you don't. Because here's the thing about you, Pile 1, is, of course you're Pile 1. You're number 1. We got a lot of fire here. So you could be an Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, have those placements, or Gemini. We also have Gemini here. Stream Gemini by Kino Carey. Excellent song. Take those placements as extra confirmation. You don't have to have those things. You could be all water and earth and be one of the fieriest people alive. Anyway, you have a fire that a lot of people don't. And the thing about you is that you recognize you're built different, but then you still get frustrated when people are people and they're different and they're frustrating and ineffective or annoying or don't understand why you might be so passionate about something or don't have the same drive that you do. What you have is a blessing and a curse in the sense that you're a very powerful person. You have the ability to get so much done, but the level of patience, razor thin. And let me be clear, I don't blame you. And I feel like part of the reason why you may struggle with patience is because you hide a lot of your true self from the people around you. And I feel like that is because you are afraid of your own power and afraid of your own fire. I definitely feel like there is a part of you that feels like you're too much, or that your passion puts people off, or that your fire puts people off, your intensity. And that could be true. There are certain people that are turned off by intensity, that are turned off by fire, but that's not an issue with you. That's just an incompatibility between preferences. And I think that what this real side is showing me, this side over here, I guess if you're listening the right side, is you feel like if you don't show up around others in a way that is put together, in a way that shows you're cool, in a way that shows you can be strong, in a way that shows that you're there for others, then you're somehow going to be ostracized or not be enough. One thing that I can see is that you have a strong connection to your inner child, whether you realize it or not. You came into this world with very strong opinions, which we love, and very strong ideas about how the world should be, how people should be. You hold yourself to a standard that not a lot of people do. And you also have a craving for growth, adventure, exploration, and I wouldn't say confrontation, but competition with yourself, and confrontation of that which isn't helpful for humanity. You are definitely willing to fight for what you believe in. And I think that that is a part of your nature that you have suppressed more as you've gotten older, because those that couldn't maybe hold that fire, or those that, you know, were on the receiving end of that intensity, maybe couldn't handle it, or were bothered by truths that you brought up or beliefs that you had. And rather than hear you out or understand, their natural response was to push you away. And I feel like you hold on to those experiences as evidence that if you are yourself, then other people won't want to be around you. Or if you're a messy version of yourself, an unhinged version of yourself, people won't want to support you and be around you. And one thing you don't see about yourself is that the people that are close to you, that are around you, they know who you are and they love who you are. They love your fire. They love your passion. They love the fact that you have this incredible ability to never stop fighting for what you believe in, fighting for a better world, fighting for a better life for yourself and the people that you love. And it's okay to be pissed that not everybody has that desire, because it is kind of fucking annoying. It is. A lot of people don't know how to handle passion. And let's be real. Sometimes the truth should piss you off. It should make you upset. You should be passionate about it. One of the forms of convincing speech is pathos. And if you have to give a speech monotonous and calm like this, who the hell are you inspiring? Besides like a typewriter or a vegetable? Nothing and no one. And I think that's why people are more comfortable with monotonous, calm language, because it doesn't actually force them to look at the sincerity or the scary reality of the truths you might be trying to reveal. A lot of people would rather stick their head in the sand. And here's the ironic thing. Your desire to change and improve humanity is also you externalizing the avoidance of your own wounds. Well, I guess I wouldn't call them wounds. The avoidance of the things within you that you're afraid to address or afraid to look at, that are in reality not bad things, but you've been taught they're bad, so you're afraid to look at them and expose yourself to more judgment. And so I feel like you expend a lot of time and energy on futile pursuits, like wishing humans would be more passionate about causes, or wishing that people would get more fired up about things, or wishing that people would just be more understanding or be willing to fight for a cause that they believe in. And it's like all this wishing that others would do. And I guess like the examples I'm using don't necessarily have to translate to how you feel about yourself, but I do think that there is a part of you that struggles between the ideals that you have about humanity and the type of impact you want to make on the world versus feeling safe in community and feeling accepted in community and not wanting to be ostracized. And the thing is that one thing you don't see about yourself is that you are the voice for people who are not courageous enough to say it themselves. And a lot of times there are people thinking what you want to say. They just don't have the courage to say it and face potential backlash or face the consequences of that. And I think that you yourself have kind of tempered that response because of backlash, because of people not understanding, because of people criticizing you or taking it in bad faith. And I feel like one thing you don't see is that's not a flaw or a failing on your part. I do think that we can all be better at delivering ideas and communicating things that we're passionate about. And there are people that, you know, will not be able to hear something that you have to say if there is a lot of emotion behind it, because just a lot of people don't know how to hold space for the emotions of others because they're emotionally unavailable to themselves, and they don't know that it's okay and that they don't have to hold on to it. And so I think a lot of passionate people like yourself do have to learn to kind of tone the flames down in order to kind of get your message across or get something done. But that's okay. I feel like, though, your passion at times and your idealism makes it really hard for you to sit with yourself and your flaws. And I'm putting flaws in quotations because I feel like a lot of what you see as flaws are not genuinely flaws. They're just parts of yourself that you judge. You know, we all have flaws. Like, one of my flaws is I'm not good at getting out of bed. You know, me and that snooze button are in a long-term relationship and I just can't break up with her. that I would say is a flaw. You know, being a passionate person is not a flaw. You know, I can change the time I wake up. But, you know, you can't change the fact that you're a passionate person who cares about the world and has ideas, ways to implement them, and the desire to share them. And that's not a bad thing. That is an integral part of how you work and how you operate. You need things to make you passionate, whether it is passionate in a positive way or passionate in a negative way, it all serves. And the fact that we have Gemini energy here and this energy of feeding your brain, like, you are someone who can actually handle those sorts of topics and be a crusader for those things that you're passionate about. Not everybody is built that way. Not everybody has the energy or the capacity to work that hard and fight that hard. But I feel like there is a part of you, and maybe this is recently, where you've just been like, I'm just exhausted and I don't have the energy. For others of you, I feel like you may have just really tempered this side of yourself and really pushed it down. And as a result, there's probably a part of you that's feeling deep rage, and it's probably coming through in exhaustion or fear or maybe even a little bit of depression. And I feel like one thing you're meant to see about yourself is that these parts of you that are hiding, you can't avoid forever. The fact that we have Afraid of the Attic, you have a mind and you deserve to speak it. Obviously, it's wise to pay attention to who our audience is because, you know, with the right audience, we can have what we say be received, and with the wrong audience, you know, we can waste all our energy trying to share our side and they won't even be listening. So I do think that one thing that you may not see is that it's not that you're inherently wrong or that your passions are inherently wrong. We can always be better about that. Sometimes passionate people, as a person with a bad case of the Aries scaries myself, you know, sometimes we don't understand how passionately we come across or how intense we can be because we feel these things so intensely. And I think that's what a lot of people on the outside don't realize, is that our intensity is matching the feelings that we're experiencing and just how much we care. There's nothing wrong with tempering that response and finding ways to kind of make it more manageable so that more people can hear it and digest it. But it's not a sign that you're doing something wrong if you do get passionate, if you do get too intense. It's just a sign of how much you care, and it's just a part of your personality that you shouldn't shame or hide yourself from. You're drawn to light. Like, you are a light in the sense that when people want to stay in the dark, you come in and flip the lights on and you don't give them any warning. And that's not a bad thing. It's just something where you need to be less, you don't need to be. It may be useful for you to be less invested in the responses to you sharing your light, sharing your truth, and saying what you have to say, because people are going to respond how they're going to respond, and their response does not determine the value of the message or the value of what you're sharing. And I feel like there is a decent few of you that feel like you're not worthy of the patience and tenderness and dedication towards yourself that you have towards causes that you're passionate about, or projects that you're working towards, ideas or ideals that you're working towards. And I think that is one thing that maybe you need to be gentler with yourself about, because number one, that will make you less angry at humanity. You know, when you're dismantling the parts of you that you've been avoiding or afraid of, when you're looking at them with compassion, it's easier to accept and understand that we're all at different places in life and that we all have different strengths and weaknesses. And one of your strengths is being a voice for others that are too afraid to speak up. Another one of your strengths is having the drive to actually take action and not just talk the talk, but walk the walk as well. And I think that one thing that you don't see about yourself is that there are already so many people in your life that love you as you are, and they see these passionate sides of you. They already know that they exist. And I think that you're not as good at hiding it as you think you are. I just think that sometimes you have this delusional idea that by being yourself, you're being bad. And that's just so not true. That's never true. Like, you are a taco. How often do tacos stay neat and put together? Never. All right? And are they any less delicious and amazing? No, they are just as delicious and amazing, and so are you. You don't need to be perfectly put together all the time to be accepted. And I feel like one thing you don't see about yourself is that you also don't need to be perfect in order to start finding in ideals or speaking out. We're all hypocrites in different ways. You know, it's impossible for us as human beings to always be right, to always do the right thing. And there's so much growth in being challenged. There's so much growth in being wrong. And there's so much growth in experiencing what we have to say being rejected or criticized or challenged. It's all good. And I think that it's not good in the sense of how it might make us feel, or good in the sense of, well, I guess the judgment of good or bad depends on the perception of the person experiencing it, right? But I definitely don't think you realize that you actually have a greater capacity to carry certain challenges than others are. And you certainly don't have to. But I feel like sometimes you almost have this urge to speak or do something or share something that might be inflammatory, that might upset people. But I feel like that's always because you're not the only one thinking that. You're not the only one seeing it that way. And there is an epidemic where we are only seeing, you know, the loudest narratives, the most hateful narratives, the most simple and black and white narratives. Those are the ones that are being shared in the world right now. We need more courageous people like you in the world sharing their voice and not letting the response to how their voice is received stop them. Because whether you see it or not, you are genuinely connecting to more people than you realize. And I think one thing you also have to understand about yourself is that there are and will be times where you're burnout and you just don't have the energy. That's a cyclical part of human nature. And part of your ability to have forward momentum is to be passionate about something. So if you're not feeling passionate, if you're not desiring anything, if there's no goal, it's going to be a lot harder for you to move forward. But the reality is that you don't need to be constantly moving forward. Sometimes it is better to just take stock of what's happening. And the fact that we have this wheelbarrow card here, it talks about connecting to nature and nature's cycles. You know, fire is one of those things in nature where we don't really want it to happen because it's quite destructive, but it's also purifying. And that is an influence that you have on the world. People can see your influence as destructive or purifying. And a lot of times we need someone who is just strong enough to say, to go against the grain, to stand up, and to not let obvious bullshit be propagated in your presence, in the presence of the people around you. Good for you for not standing up for that. We need more people standing up for themselves and not putting up with bullshit. Bullies have been getting away with way too much, and there's a lot of people that have been getting away with just horrible, bad faith, black and white takes that just need to be challenged and need to be told, actually, no. Actually, this isn't a good take. And what you don't see about yourself is that the fact that you have that drive or the desire to means that you should go for it if you want to, especially if it's like online or some shit. It's low stakes. Speak up for yourself. Obviously, I mean, I guess be wise about, you know, how much time and energy you waste on that stuff, but it could be good practice. And I think one thing that you need to know is that you don't have to be perfect to fight for a better world. And you don't have to be perfect in order to be worthy of the same acceptance that you give to others. Because I feel like you are always very accepting of others because you know what it's like to be rejected or ostracized based on who your true self is. You are someone who has a lot of energy. You are intense and you're very intelligent. And sometimes you may have to dumb down your messages or find ways to communicate with people that, you know, don't convey the true nuance of what you have to say, that doesn't fit, you know, all of what you would like someone to understand. But there's a mental challenge in that, and there's growth and there's learning in that. And I feel like one of the things you don't see about yourself is that you raise the bar pretty high in terms of what people have to understand in order to engage with you. And it's good for them to grow in that way, but there's also beauty in learning to meet others halfway. And I think that in some ways you're doing that, but in other ways you're just suppressing yourself in order to appease other people, and that's not meeting them halfway. That's denying yourself in order to make others feel comfortable. That's dimming your light in order to make others feel better. And that's just not fair. I definitely think that you may project your own idealism onto yourself and get really upset and frustrated when you make a mistake or when an action isn't in alignment with your values. And like, that's just one of the most human things ever. And I think it could be really beneficial for you to find a way to connect with the earth more, because I think your body needs you. In the sense that I think that there are feelings and experiences that you can put words to that you haven't been able to yet because you've been avoiding those feelings or internal experiences when they arise. But I think if you just even analyze your actions in the past 3 months, especially your external actions, and look within them, like the intentions behind them, you might see what you're really needing from yourself. Like, for example, you know, if you've been doing a lot to help other people, and that's been making you feel good, which is a wonderful thing, maybe ask yourself, okay, maybe I've been needing to help myself, but I've been afraid to. I feel like you may think that you're such a mess, and you're really not. You're just a human being, as we all are. And I feel like you've just unfortunately had the experience of a lot of people be combative or be threatened by your power, by your voice, and by what you have to share. But those people weren't your real friends. Because a real friend will move through conflict with you and will communicate to you with like, hey, I need a second, or hey, can we talk about this can we dial down the intensity? Like, a real person will love you as you are. And I feel like you already do have people like that around you that see you already and wish that you would share more of yourself because they love the passionate you. But that part of you can't be shared if you're not willing to open up and share it. And I think that one thing that you may not be seeing is there is a part of you screaming at you to look at yourself, and not look at yourself from a place of judgment or idealism, but just from a place of this is what's here, and this is just as valid of love as every other part of me. I feel like what you will realize is that everything that within yourself that you've been avoiding is not as bad as you think it is, and you will realize, like, you know how at night you can see a scary shadow and it looks like a giant monster, and then you look outside and realize it's just a tree branch? Like, I think that you're gonna kind of see more accurately some patterns that have been happening within you that you've been avoiding looking at, that have led to maybe destructive action or led to just a lot of frustration with yourself and frustration with the world. And I think the more you connect to yourself, the easier it will be for you to accept the fallibility of humans, the flaws of humans, the imperfections of humans, because you have them too. We all do. But the cool thing that you don't see about yourself is that you're an advocate, you're a fighter, and you're someone who sees the potential in any challenge that you might face. You can carry heavy burdens, and honestly, I think there is a part of you that is just waiting to be liberated and to just hear, it's okay to be passionate, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be loud, it's okay to stomp your feet, especially when it's fighting for a better world, especially when it's fighting for a better reality. And just know that whatever you're working towards, whatever visions you have for the future, you can be part of the reason that they happen. They may not match your ideals and they may not match your vision entirely, but you can be part of that world that's being created, and you're meant to be part of that world. I also think one thing that you don't see is that a lot of, like, when you do speak up and you experience like pushback or challenges from that, that's a big reason why a lot of people don't speak up in the first place. And you have to understand that it is so incredibly badass to have the courage to speak up for yourself and for others, and to not accept just placating others and accept keeping yourself small. you need to see that these parts of you that are true to your nature are there for a reason. You know, we can always use them with more wisdom. And that's why it's important you give yourself more leeway to just start expressing that fiery part of yourself more, because you won't be able to use it with more wisdom if you don't give yourself the chance to explore it. One thing you need to see about yourself is that you are the source of inspiration and will be the source of inspiration for so many people to realize that they can let their passions be unleashed too, that they can have their voice heard, that they can be mad about things, and that they don't have to hide themselves either. The truth is not always comfortable, and change is almost never comfortable or easy. And instigating it, there will be people that will be very angry because they want to stay asleep. And they can do that. But you don't have to hold on to their responses as a failure on your part. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep trying and just be less hard on yourself, because that's the really big thing here. You are very hard on yourself, and you don't deserve that. And as you're less hard on yourself, it'll be easier for you to be less hard on humanity. And so when you find yourself just having very little patience for people or very little patience for what's happening, really ask yourself, is there anything that I've been really annoyed with myself about? Is there any parts of me that are enraged and I'm ignoring them? What have I not been expressing? Pay attention to that stuff. You need the mental stimulation that comes from facing your fears and courage. Like, you have no idea how much wisdom it will bring you. And it's not like you've never done this in the past. I feel like there's just a good portion of you that have been avoidant of doing that in the present out of fear of losing the people around you. And if you show yourself in those ways and people do walk away, they're not meant to be there, period. If they can't handle the heat, they need to get out of the kitchen, period. And I think that just one thing you need to see about yourself is that the parts of you that you've been judging as wrong are your true self trying to be seen. And the parts of you and the traits that you have been holding on to as this will make me accepted, this will help keep the peace, whatever, those are the things that are pissing you off so much in the first place. And those are the things that you need to look at and say, okay, do I really need this? Because I promise you, like, especially the people that are close to you, they know who you are and they love who you are. And they would probably be really sad to find out that you've been holding back parts of yourself or feeling like you're not good enough just as you are, because they know that that version of you exists. And they want to see that more. They might even feel like it's kind of weird that you're not as vocal or as outspoken. But also, I just want you to know as well that just because you are someone that gets things done, just because you are someone that takes action, doesn't mean that that burden needs to fall on your shoulders every time. And I think that there's also maybe a need for you to look at where it would be beneficial for you to ask for help and kind of be vulnerable in that way, whether it's with, you know, someone who can provide help, like whether it's with a care provider or with a friend. Like, I feel like it's okay to be more vulnerable and be uncertain. Uncertainty is your friend. You're allowed to have passionate ideas and still not know if those are the right ones. You're allowed to be angry and not know why. You're allowed to be messy and not even know what the origin of this mess is. You're allowed to be a messy human, and that's part of what makes you beautiful. Like, that's part of what makes humanity is that we are messy. And I think that there's just a need for you to be gentler with yourself and temper that passionate idealism in ways that bolster your confidence in it and help give you opportunities to express it so that you can become even better at expressing it, even with people who can't handle that intensity, you know? Finding ways to make the kitchen open concept so that the people in the living room can still see from across the room, you know what I mean? You have a powerful vision and a powerful voice, and a lot more people believe in it than you realize. I think more than anything, having patience with the cycles of time and the cycles of self and personal growth will be really beneficial. So definitely connecting to earth and earth energies more, and just kind of studying the cycles of birth, death, rebirth, I think could be really helpful for you, because there might be times where you might feel like you failed because one thing doesn't go well, or you're not able to express something the way you wanted to. You might feel like you failed because all of your goals weren't reached, or you're not able to do something yet. Or you might feel like you're failing because you're just literally not moving forward right now. And it could just be because you need to stop and restock and kind of look at yourself so that you can keep moving forward. Know that forward momentum for you is a natural feeling, motivated by passion and interest and excitement. And so if you're not feeling those things, that's not a sign that you're doing something wrong. That's a sign that you're meant to be chilling. Mix a little bit of ice with that fire and introspect, because there's a lot of powerful things that you can do in the material world and powerful change that you can create. And when it comes to leaders like you, we need those leaders more than anything, doing the introspection and accepting themselves and growing and having compassion for the parts of themselves that they may not like, having compassion for their flaws and compassion for their mistakes, because everybody that steps up is under scrutiny, and that comes from deep judgment within all of us, right? And so I think the more you can have compassion for your mistakes, the less bogged down, embarrassed, and held back you'll feel from them, because you'll realize, oh, this is just part of being human. And even if I experience those feelings, they're temporary and you can move through them, and you will. You're a fucking badass, and I would be proud to know you. And so just know that you don't need to hide any part of yourself in order to be loved. And you don't need to be anything other than you. And if anything, I think that what you're really needing is to just kind of look at yourself more honestly, less from who you think you should be and more just who you are right now, and take stock in that and be like, okay, so this is who I am right now. What do I need from myself? What have I been neglecting? So I'm just gonna pull like one or two cards and just see, what Spirit wants you to know about yourself, about these parts that we've been talking about. So Spirit, is there anything else you want to add on about what you want pile 1 to know about these aspects of self? Yeah, 5 of Swords. There is a part of you that will need to be resilient and will get knocked down and will be frustrated, but it's okay. Because also with this strategy here, you will get better at finding the most effective ways to deliver messages and finding ways that honors your authentic output, your authentic desire, and the ability to have it received in the way that you're hoping. You can't control how it's received for everyone, but I do think that there is some healing around accepting that not everyone sees things the same way as you, and recognizing that not everyone can handle that level of intensity, and that's not a you problem. That's not a failing on your part. It's just literally different abilities to handle intensity. And the better you're able to recognize who can handle it and who can't, the better you will be at delivering things in the way is most constructive, especially when, if you have an ideal that you're trying to build up and get others to see, it is very effective to find ways to reach them rather than just have them affirm that you're right. I'm not saying that you do that, but sometimes when we get really passionate about things, we lose all sense of how it's being received and the most effective way to share it and with whom. So I definitely think that the challenges that you face in this process, while they might be uncomfortable and painful in the experience, will give you powerful growing opportunities to just get better at how you share your views with the world, how you share the change you want to make, how you take action. And I think it's just going to make you even more powerful. Like, you'll have this powerful shell that won't keep people out, but will keep you protected and still stay passionate, stay motivated when it is right for you to do so. And we also have the Queen of Pentacles, comfort and prosperity. So yeah, I think that there is a reparenting, that you really just need to be more nurturing with yourself and recognize that also you don't have to be on the front lines of every cause and everything. If you want to be, great. But also you're allowed to slow down and take time for yourself and focus on what's best for you too. I do feel like you are an advocate for others and an advocate for those that can't speak for themselves, but you also don't always have to be that. You can put down the advocacy hat sometimes and just be what you need for yourself. And I think that there is encouragement here to look at, you know, the messages that you got when you were young from your caregivers that told you that, as I cut the deck, worthy, that told you you were unworthy if you just were yourself and spoke up. I wouldn't be shocked if even for some of you, it is this nature that you are learning to re-embrace or learning to share more that will lead you to more prosperity, or that is the cause of prosperity that you already have, that you're meant to continue leaning into. But also just know that as you stop fighting these parts of yourself that you're meant to share with the world, the more comfortable life will be, because even though you may get responses you're not desiring from others, what you get in return is the incredible feeling of authenticity, and that will always be more powerful than the disapproval of someone who just doesn't get you in the first place. So let's get some guidance now. Spirit, what guidance do you have for pile 1 when it comes to being themselves and shining their light? We have hope. The trigger statement is, I will not forget. And the true statement is, I open my heart. Release the suffering and take another step forward, sweet one. With each step, you will see more light and healing. And that's the thing, is like, you need that hope. And you give people hope. And I feel like maybe for those of you that have lost faith in yourselves, this is a powerful opportunity to realize, like, no, this isn't the end. This is just the part in the story where the hero feels bogged down and is wondering if they have what it takes to keep moving forward. And you do, and you will, when you're good and ready. Your heart is behind the things you believe and the actions you take. And as long as your heart is in something, just know that it's a worthy cause. And just know that your growth, your happiness are worthy causes too. And you don't have to sacrifice your joy to be on the front lines fighting for others all the time. Even though that is a part of who you are, balancing that with just time for you and time to have fun and be silly and let go of the weight of the world, just even if just for a little bit, I think that is equally as important. And I think one thing you don't see about yourself sometimes is that you are human and you do need breaks, because that is what will give you the opportunity to refuel and be back out on the front lines once again. You are the type of person that I aspire to be. And I will admit myself, there's a lot of things that I am afraid to share and be and say and do. I've dimmed my light too. I think a lot of passionate people do that. But you inspire me and you give me hope. And the more you act on these impulses to speak up and be courageous and be the leader that you know you can be, the more you will inspire others and realize, oh, the reason why I couldn't let go of this desire was because this needed to be said and the universe knew I could do it. You're strong and brave enough. And I'm proud of you. But we also have anchor. The trigger statement is, I'm not ready for what comes next, and the true statement is, I take it one step at a time. Although things are shifting so quickly, be present and know that this is part of a greater plan. So, okay, Jordan Sparks, one step at a time, no need to rush. So this process of growth for you, I feel like you may want to change so much of yourself. First of all, the things that you're wanting to change, I think a lot of them are just parts of yourself you need to accept, and you'll gain the wisdom to handle those parts of self in ways that make you feel better and more comfortable, and navigate those aspects of self with more wisdom so that you're not trying to hide them. But also, I think that there is a part of you that is just wanting to be on the other side of whatever challenges you're experiencing right now. And that would basically be like reading the first and last pages of a book. That's not what this is about. And I feel like you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to know what you're doing or what's going on. You just need to take things one step at a time. And you just need to give yourself space to ground and connect, and remember that your ideas might move at the speed of light, but bringing those ideas to this planet, that moves at the speed of Earth. And that's a lot slower, which is hard to deal with, but it's worth it. And you will grow so much through that process. And I will also just like want you to know, like, one thing you don't see about yourself is just like how powerful you truly are. And this process that you're undergoing really is going to help you awaken to your own power and realize, like, when you're no longer afraid of any parts of yourself that you've been avoiding, it's going to be a lot harder for people to affect you or impact you in ways that make you feel afraid to share yourself. Because when you know yourself and accept yourself, it's hard to let other people and their opinions of you affect you that deeply. Okay, so we're gonna finish off with a final guidance message. So, Spirit, what final guidance do you have for my group number ones, please? What is a special animal on their side? What do they need to know? Okay. Cultivate patience, yep, and trust in long-term plans and perspective. Sometimes souls with much to offer need more time to marinate and evolve into their true depth and fullness. If you feel like you might be a late bloomer, accept that this can be a wonderful thing. You have the ability to create a beautiful and protective legacy for those souls within your care. Affirm your freedom, grace, and dignity above all else. Refuse to allow yourself to be put down by yourself or anyone else. Trust that you can attract and deserve to experience committed, healthy relationships. So yeah, anyone that tells you you're too much, anyone that makes you feel small, kick them to the curb. Let that fire out and let them and singe their asses, all right? They don't need to be there, because there's much better things that could take their place. And I love this, because this is all about you being patient with yourself and who you're growing into. And just know that, like, this is a longer, deeper, more uncut process that does require patience. But I feel like the more you see your growth, especially in time, and just see how far you've come, the more momentum you'll have, and the easier it will be for you to be with that process. But we have the crane, and it says, long-term plans, devotion, soulmates. My soul dances with freedom and grace. So just know that anyone who is meant to be a part of your soul journey, like, they are going to love who you truly are. And so if you're trying to manifest a soulmate or manifest someone in your life, it's this process of unburdening and this process of letting go of what isn't you so that you can be more of yourself. And in that process, gaining the wisdom of how you can be that self. That is what is leading you to those people that you're looking for, those plans. You have a passion that will carry you on your journey, and you don't need to be ashamed of it. The only time you ever need to temper yourself is when you want to give a message or want to share some sort of truth or passion to those that you know may not receive it in the way that you can authentically give it. And if the message is more important than your authentic expression, then temper it with wisdom. But if authentic expression is more important than your message, then let it rip. So pile one, that's where I'm going to leave this reading. I feel like I don't know what I just said for the past. I hope this reading made sense. Definitely let me know if it did. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background. That's one of the simplest and easiest ways to support me and show appreciation for my channel. But if you'd like to do that in other ways, you can comment down below. Let me know how it resonates. You can subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out my candles. You click that little notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new reading. You can check out my merch. You can check out other videos, especially ones with extendeds. You can leave this video a like. Thank you to everyone who does that. Subscribe if you haven't already. Shout out to my notification squad. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. So thank you so much for watching and for letting me read for you. I fucking love you guys, and I hope you love yourselves too. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye! Hi there, Pile 2. Welcome to your reading and thank you so much for being here. Apologies for how close I am to the mic. I will move once the cards are laid out, but if you guys chose the Scolecite, more than an oval, not necessarily a cylinder, egg-looking thing, and the Skeleton Tarot, this is going to be a reading on what you don't see about yourself. So, to start, we have the Tower, we have Improve Your Craft, we have Encounter, we have the Page of Cups, we have the Watering Can, we have I Am Determined, we have Make Believe, we have the Breast Pump, we have the Page of Pentacles, and finally we have Too Many Projects. Okay, let me just make sure these are kind of lined up, and then we will get into it. So if you didn't listen to the intro, I don't really have a plan for this reading. We're just kind of rolling with it and seeing where it leads. So, pile number 2. Did I call you pile 3? You're pile 2. What don't you see about yourself? Number 1, I think there's a part of you that knows this. You have the ability to literally put anything you set your mind to, and that is a powerful gift, but it can be a curse when your mind is not in the right place. And this is not necessarily that your thinking is wrong. It's more about your belief systems and unresolved emotion. If you have had questions about career, this side will be addressing that. One thing that you don't see about yourself is the fact that you're already worthy. And in fact, you don't need to prove your worth. And there's a part of you, and you might be like, yeah, I know that, but do you? Because one thing that I'm seeing here is that if you're trying to improve your financial situation, you might be shooting yourself in the foot a little bit because you're either too distracted giving yourself to others. I mean, this breast pump talks about giving yourself so fully, so completely to others, to the point where it may be taking away from your ability to focus on your projects, focus on what's really important. And we have too many projects here. So it's possible not only you have things you want to be working on, but then you get ideas of other things, or you find yourself being stretched too thin, or being uncertain of yourselves, not sure of what's worthy of being invested in. And I think there is a part of you, and this is something you likely know about yourself, you tend to assume the worst or prepare for the worst in a way where it makes it harder for you to think about what could happen, prepare for the best, hope for the best. You have a critical, discerning, and keen eye, and I feel like that can hurt you sometimes because you might throw good ideas away or throw things worthy of working on away too soon because you see certain flaws in that idea or certain flaws in what you were investing in, and then you have different ideas and haven't seen the flaws in those yet. There's only so much time and energy you can invest, and I feel like there is a part of you that is seeking validation by proving your worth to others. And the thing is you're already worthy. And some of this time and energy that you're giving to others and investing in, not only are they not going to be reciprocal, but you also don't need their validation in order to be successful in what you're working towards. In fact, in order to be more successful in what you're working towards, you need to be more discerning and practical with your time and energy. I feel like one of the things that you delude yourself into thinking is that you can do it all, and that there is enough time and energy for you to be everyone's hero and then focus on yourself. I don't think you see that a lot of your self-worth comes from your ability to provide and support for others. And you may not even be realizing that you're neglecting your own passions and pursuits and projects in the process. And I think there could be a part of you that places your worth in what you have materially, which, no judgment. I think that that's a normal and common way to look at things. But I also think because you have that perspective, you think other people see you that way as well. And you might think, well, because I don't have what I think I need yet in order to be worthy, my actions will have to be what makes me worthy. And I think what you don't see about yourself is that you are worthy just because of who you are. You have such a wonderful heart and you're so caring. I mean, the fact that we have the watering can here, you give life to others. You give and nurture others in ways that they've never experienced. And I think some people, especially takers, could be quite addicted to that and almost make you feel guilty if you're not continuing to do that. You might find yourself in codependent situations that, and I'm not even talking romantically, I'm thinking especially like friendships or family members or people that, cause we'll get there, people that you have an emotional connection to, but not a romantic connection. Because I feel like you have a strong sense of responsibility and obligation to the wrong things. Not because you're intentional about that, but because there's always a fire that needs to be put out. In your mind, like, you are the firefighter. Like, if you don't put out the fire, nobody else will. Well, nobody else is putting out the fire because you always put it out. And I think there is a part of you that recognizes that you're stretched too thin and you do need to regroup and focus more of your time and energy on your pursuits and what's important to you. But I think there's a part of you that's having a hard time letting go of that, because I think you get a lot of your self-worth from what you're able to give others. And that sucks. Not that you suck, but that sucks for you because it's not true. You have so much to give to this world, and I think that because you have such a powerful ability to put power and energy behind whatever you're pursuing, a lot of the wrong things can be nurtured right under your nose, and then all of a sudden, when you recognize you need to regroup, you're the bad guy. You're the one that gets shat on because other people took for granted how much time and energy you were putting into them and their projects. I definitely think if you are trying to increase your abundance or build projects, you need to be willing to embrace the discomfort that comes with not satisfying everyone else's needs and trusting that it's not your job to be everyone else's hero. In fact, that's part of the reason why you feel like a zero still, is because it's like you're giving everything away and then there's nothing left for you. And whatever time and energy you do spend on your projects and your pursuits, there's always something or someone that needs something else. And I think that you may get to this point where you get overwhelmed or feel like you have so much to do, and then it's almost easier to escape into the problems of others. It's like, I can be useful and worthy now by giving myself to them. And that's not worthy or useful. That shows that you don't have a sense of self-worth, because if you are taking action to feel that from other people, you're not seeing that you already are worthy, and you're leaving yourself vulnerable to transactional relationships where people only take from you and punish you when you no longer give. I also think, though, you have a hard time truly perceiving and visualizing the success that you're actually capable of. And I feel like how you define success is really important. Because one thing, if you just attach success to material objects and the number in your bank account, you will never be successful, because there's always more. And that's just a really slippery slope. I think success should be defined by the feelings that you're pursuing within these projects. And actually, one thing you don't see about yourself is that I think that you think you operate from a code of logic, but that code of logic is based in avoiding uncomfortable emotions or facing emotional intensity that could make you feel out of control. Because I think one thing you do see about yourself is that you do like control. You like to be there for other people. You like to feel in control of situations, and situations that make you feel out of control, I think you avoid. We'll get there. But with this make-believe card, I think you convince yourself you're in control, that you have enough time and energy for everyone and everything, and you just don't. And you're missing out on valuable opportunities to invest in yourself because of a lack of faith, I think, in not only yourself, but also in this like frustrating cycle where it's hard for you to invest yourself in what you're working on because you feel crappy about yourself, or you're seeing all the flaws and none of the perks. And then it goes into, and then because of that, when people need you or need your help, it's an opportunity to kind of support yourself and soothe yourself. But then you don't have the energy then to focus on what you know you need to be focusing on. And I think there's a part of you that just needs to start believing in yourself more and recognize that you're not going to be able to control every outcome, and that's okay. In fact, I think what you're really needing is to let go of control in that way and stop being so sure of what an outcome is going to be. I feel like there are projects that you've discarded that could have materialized in fantastic ways that you discarded just because you saw a single flaw in them, or you felt like they weren't good enough. I mean, you're definitely very hard on yourself, and I do think you see that. But I think if you're struggling to be successful in a career sense, especially if you're self-employed or trying to get into a leadership position, I think that you may be creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of not being good enough with your actions reinforcing it, and these deep down beliefs, because I know you know that you can do it, and I know you know you're going to get there, but I think that you see your success as in the future and not already something that exists. You're already successful. Like, you are so powerful and have already done so much in your life, and you're a fantastic human being. Like, that is something to be proud of. You have so much time and energy to give to others. Well, maybe you don't have a lot of time or energy and you still give it anyway. That is beautiful. But one way you can be successful right now is being honest with yourself of where maybe you're using your time and energy in less productive ways as a way to self-soothe or a way to prove something to yourself, when in reality you just need to believe in yourself and recognize you already are worthy. You already deserve good things. You're already ready. You don't need to keep preparing. Like, you're ready. And I think that also there's a part of you that is just a little afraid to invest fully into something, because what if you fail? And that is something every successful, traditionally, it's a subjective term, but traditionally successful person has experiences of failure. We all have them, and failure is an important part of growing. And who's to say that failure won't lead you to the biggest success you've had in your life, however you define that? You don't need to be more than what you are. But you do need to be conscious of what you're cultivating, because I do think that there may be challenges in setting boundaries with people because you didn't have them in the first place. And when you're regrouping, it might be deeply uncomfortable to say no to these people, to rein in your energy. It might be deeply uncomfortable. But if you can successfully withstand that discomfort, there's a success right there, and keep doing it anyway. And I think you'll realize how much more inspiration and energy you do have when all of yourself isn't being given to other people. And it's not a bad thing to be helpful, to be giving, to be nurturing and caring. That's a beautiful aspect of yourself. And I feel like you just don't realize that what you're able to give within reason is already enough. And I think that there are certain expectations that have been placed upon you starting from a young age, where you don't get to define what enough is, others do. So if you're needed, in your mind, it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm not doing enough. And it's like, no, there are certain people that are definitely taking advantage of your willingness to be there for them. And so there's a need for you to see where your time and energy is being taken advantage of. Don't look at people through rose-colored glasses. Don't look at people from this place of, oh, well, they have good intentions. Like, if they truly care about you, if they truly have good intentions, they'll understand why you need to direct your time and energy where you need to. People that respond poorly to boundaries are exactly why we need them. Now, with that being said, there's something definitely here about emotional availability within yourself and also romantic relationships, potentially. Obviously, if you're aromantic or asexual, I would say that, or just already in a relationship or not looking for a relationship, then I would say that this centers more around your ability to go more deeply emotionally. But I think for a lot of you, there could be someone now or in your future that you connect with very deeply, that you can't control your emotions around them, that makes you feel very afraid, not because they're a scary or dangerous person, but because you're afraid of the feelings they evoke within you. And I think there is a part of you that really is fine with being on the surface with that. But I think the deep discomfort with these situations is, number one, not having control over them. Number two, you may be afraid of something potentially traumatic that happened to you in your past happening with someone that you love. Like, so for example, if you lost someone that you loved, or, you know, if you grew up in a household where, you know, people got divorced, or romantic relationships were very volatile or toxic or even abusive, like, you may feel like you're not worthy of love, or you may be afraid of seeing yourself in another person, and you may be pushing that person away or pushing away opportunities to open up. And it's not actually other people you're afraid of, it's what you'll see about yourself when you do, and the uncertainty that comes with connecting with another person on a deep level. What this really is about is, one thing you don't see about yourself is that part of your dissatisfaction with life is because you're not living it with the emotional richness that you could be. And the reason you're not tapping into that emotional richness is because the sources of that emotional richness will come from people that, number one, and it doesn't have to be romantic, that you connect with on a deep, profound level that requires vulnerability and intensity. And number two, it doesn't even have to be people. Anywhere where you meet yourself in the outside world, that can be intense for you. And I think there is a part of you that doesn't see that your avoidance of these experiences isn't, you might say it's like, well, I just don't want to get hurt. I don't want my trust to be betrayed. And those are normal, understandable excuses. But I think there's a part of you not admitting that you're afraid of seeing yourself mirrored back to someone or something that holds deep meaning for you, that makes you vulnerable to the uncertainties of life, that could profoundly change your life in ways that actually would be satisfying, but you're afraid to open up to, because what if it's bad? What if it fails? What if I get it and I lose it? And I definitely think one thing you need to see is that you are so lovable right now, just the way you are. And when you meet people, or there are people that you connect with on a deep and profound level, those people are not going to be so hard on you the way that you're hard on yourself. In fact, it'll probably be beautiful opportunities for you to see where you've been unfair to yourself, and also see yourself in another person and realize, like, why is this person holding themselves to these standards? They're already so wonderful. And it's almost like, yeah, maybe you should look in the mirror, pile two. It's almost like you're having that same experience. And I just think there's a part of you that, not a part of you, you want more out of life. But what life is saying is if you want more, you have to let go of control and recognize you're worthy of more, because your actions reinforce that you're not ready, that you're not available, that you're not worthy of something deeper, of something truer, that you'll lose it, that they'll realize you're not good enough, whatever it is. And none of it is true. It's all beliefs based in past wounding and fears. And the thing is that you don't need to be healed or not have those wounding and fears in order to meet life at a deeper level. You just have to be willing to accept what surfaces as it happens and trust that you can navigate it. The fact that we have Improve Your Craft here, I definitely think that you need to be patient with yourself when it comes to opening yourself up to experiences that are emotionally intense, especially if you avoid emotional intensity and don't like exploring the depth of your emotions. But there's profound freedom and release in that. And I think there is a part of you that is so sure of negative outcomes and so sure of things ending poorly or things just not working out for you that you almost shoot yourself in the foot and keep yourself stuck in this self-perpetuating cycle of not being good enough, not allocating your time and energy properly, and not opening yourself up to the people and experiences that want you with them as badly as you want to be with them. Because it's those people and those experiences that will reiterate to you that your worth is not based in what you can provide or how you act. It's just in who you are. There is a natural, nurturing presence to you when you are in presence with those that genuinely love and appreciate you. And I think that there is a part of you that is uncomfortable with reciprocal relationships. You may not know how to experience receiving unconditional love or receiving acceptance and compassion and support and energy in return, because that's not something you're used to. I think one thing that you don't see is that whether you consciously recognize it or not, you believe that you have to earn love. You believe that you have to earn acceptance. You have to earn the right for people to like you and the right for people to have you around. And the thing is that I think there are people that want you around quite deeply that maybe you're avoidant of because you feel like you have nothing to provide them. And all those people want is your presence, your energy. And I feel like that's what you need with yourself too. I think in giving to others, you kind of escape looking at what makes you uncomfortable. And there's always that excuse of, oh, well, I can't open myself up to exploring my romantic options because I'm too busy with work. And work is crazy because I've also got so many other things going on. And it's just like, I feel like without even maybe consciously realizing it, you take up all your time and energy in draining and safe situations where you know what the outcome will be, instead of exploring the possibilities of what could happen. Because I think that you're all too aware of the horrible things that could happen if you step out of this cycle and not aware of the beautiful things that can happen. I think there is a part of you that is very untrusting of the universe and of the things that we can't explain or understand. And that's where the real magic is. And that's where the universe is calling you to, actually. And I think what you don't see about yourself is just the fact that you are fine. You're perfect just the way that you are. We can all grow and improve, but this need to prove your worth to people that don't even value just your presence is keeping you stuck in a loop of not being able to focus on yourself, invest your time and energy into your goals. And it also leaves you in this state where it's really uncomfortable to open yourself up to emotional vulnerability, especially if you feel like you can't provide something, because the message will not be received even if another person communicates clearly I don't need you to do something for me. I just want you to be here with me. If you don't see that, if you can't understand that, then yeah, it won't make sense for you to open up to those types of people and experiences. But those are the types of people and experiences the universe is leading you towards the most, because they're the ones that will set you free and get you out of this cycle of insanity. And that's the thing, is you're not insane. You've just subscribed to a very specific form of logic that is designed to protect yourself and keep life boring and keep you stuck in the same spot. And I think there is a part of you that is just dying to break out of this. A lot of you is dying to break out of this. But there's a small part of you, that fearful part, that, and honestly, it's not even a conscious part. It's animalistic in the sense that we are creatures of habit, and we tend to go with what's safe and what's certain. And that mentality will just keep you stuck in dissatisfaction, because you are one powerful, badass human being who can do a lot. And there are so many people, other badass, powerful human beings, that would love to share space and energy with you for no other reason than they feel seen by you and they appreciate your presence. Your presence is enough. Your presence is enough of a present. And I feel like one thing that you don't see is that, I know I've said a million times that what you don't see is just how worthy you are, but also just the recognition that your value as a person is not tied to how people see your worth. And I think even just, you're worthy because you exist, because you are. And I think one thing you don't see about yourself is the impact you have on those that you connect authentically with. And I think that there is a part of you that doesn't see that it takes skill to release and surrender control. And it's not something that just happens and that you just don't feel any type of way about. It likely will feel scary. It likely will feel uncomfortable. But that's where life happens, and that's where life gets interesting, and that's where opportunities and experiences and miracles like you wouldn't believe have the opportunity to manifest and show themselves. What you don't see is that you could afford to be more positive, and where you think other people live in a fantasy world, I think that you need to start looking at life through their glasses. Because I think that what you don't see is that you genuinely want more for yourself and want deeper experiences, but there is a part of you that is intentionally avoiding that because of what it requires of you to receive those things. And the thing is that you'll be fine. You will open up to these things. It's just a matter of time. But I think the problem is that you can be your own best friend or your own worst enemy. And I think when you're not feeling good about yourself and you have low self-esteem or have a lack of self-worth, you can really reinforce those ideas through your actions and through just pure attracting people that will reinforce that as well without even realizing it. And this is not to place any blame on you whatsoever. There's no reason to blame yourself. It's all just grow. It's all opportunities to grow and learn. But I think that whoever you already know in your life that you put on a pedestal that you feel is just incredible, take them off the pedestal and look at them as a human being and see, what within them do I admire? Because you might find you already have those things, or those are the things you need to cultivate more of within yourself. And you'll realize, oh, nobody was going to give this to me. And there's nobody that's going to come and say, hey, pile 2, congratulations, you're ready. You're worthy now. Now go live life. You have to affirm that worth for yourself. And I think that even, it doesn't matter how much you say that, your actions are speaking for you. And there's a real need for you to look at your actions and say, how am I keeping myself small in order to stay in control? And where am I pushing away connection with myself and with others because I don't feel good enough for it? Because I'm afraid of being rejected, because I'm afraid of being misunderstood. Because I think the longer you stay in this cycle, the more your fears will make it seem like it's impossible for you to break out, and it's not impossible. It's never impossible. There's just a need for you to be willing to be uncomfortable and feel that discomfort and recognize that beyond that discomfort of the unknown, of the uncertainty, lies the exhilaration of life happening, and lies the opportunities to see yourself and have life experiences beyond what you could even imagine for yourself. I think that you have plenty of past experiences that reinforce why things will be the worst, or why things won't work out, or why it's not worth to open yourself up because things just fail or you'll miss out. And I think that you're not giving humanity and yourself enough credit. You deserve more than what you're presently accepting. And I think what you need to see is that you could have such a more beautiful vision for yourself, and that you deserve so much more than what you realize right now. And I feel like the universe is trying to get you to see that, but it can't if you close your eyes, stick your fingers in your ears, and keep doing the same thing over and over again. You will keep feeding that. But listen, what you don't see is that eventually something will give and you will break free. But you have the opportunity to break that cycle earlier and sooner, and live life on your own terms rather than the terms that others ascribe to you that you feel like you have to live up to. You're so incredible and you can do so much. And part of the problem is that you are smart, and you do have high expectations of yourself. And so you can be a little bit methodical and critical and meticulous, and it's easy to want to kind of escape that and just focus on others and just focus on things that aren't intense, that aren't frustrating. But the most valuable life experiences right now exist outside of your comfort zone. And so I think there's kind of a twofold message here. One thing you don't see is that the boost of energy, the positive reinforcement, the momentum from life in terms of your career world starts with you taking the action to set the proper boundaries and make sure enough of your time and energy is allocated to those projects and to where your energy is best served. And deep fulfillment in life, because I think that's the thing, is you're equating success to be fulfillment, and that's not necessarily true. Fulfillment often happens in those weird parts of life and in ways that we don't expect. And I think that this left side of the table is trying to show you that fulfillment lies in your emotional experiences, and you have a profound depth of emotion. You are sensitive, you're deep, you're philosophical, you're wise. And I think there is a part of you that resents that part of yourself because it's hard to control. It's hard to protect yourself from, but you don't need protection from it. It is that part of you that allows you to be fulfilled and experience life with so much depth and wonder. And learning to be with our emotions and accept them and accept the discomfort that comes from the unknown and that comes from facing intense emotional experiences. It takes skill to be comfortable with that and surrender, but you can do it, and I know you can. And I think what you'll find is that the more you open yourself up to those people that make you nervous, those deep and profound experiences and connections, the more you realize it takes so much less time and energy to interact with those, and you find yourself being fulfilled and given back to in a way that you don't with those that you just serve from a place of needing to feel worthy. You already are. They serve no purpose other than to drain your time and energy. So I want to pull a couple cards real quick and just ask, Spirit, how can Pile 2 break out of this cycle? What do they need to do to empower themselves and break out of this cycle? Introspection, a willingness to look at yourself. So with the Hermit, you definitely need time to go within, whether that's journaling, any sort of self-reflection, and also focus on what lights you up. Because I think there is a part of you that avoids what lights you up truly because you're afraid of losing it, or you feel like you need to be worthy of experiencing it. Definitely take time to self-reflect and go inward. And the Hermit is also connected to Virgo energy. So I definitely think there's a part of you that needs to be practical in the sense of what you know isn't working. Because here's the thing, your emotions, you might think that your perspective is quite logical, but your emotions are ruling underneath that, in the sense that the feeling of guilt of being unable to provide for those that expect that of you, that is an emotion. That is the thing that you're doing emotionally. That practically and logically doesn't make sense. It only makes sense to you because you think it's the right thing to do, because your feelings told you to feel guilt and shame if you don't do that. And the reason why you feel guilt and shame around that is because you have some sort of belief that if you're not providing, you're not worthy. And that's not fucking true. It's not true. And what else? What does pile 2 need to know about themselves and about their worth, and just about what they provide that they can't see? King of Cups. Your emotional wisdom, your compassion, your input, your insight, your energy. Like, you are enough just as you are. People benefit from being around you. You're an inspiration. You have more depth and maturity to you than I think you give yourself credit for. And I think you might even surround yourself with people that are less mature than you, that don't challenge you or force you to grow. Because number one, there might not be a lot of people that are capable of doing that. And number two, it's comfortable and easier. Maybe that's why you avoid people that can meet you as deeply, can reach the same depths as you, because it's uncomfortable to have another person seeing you as deeply. But that's what you need in order to feel satisfied. And I think for those of you that are trying to manifest that and don't have that in your life, you can start cultivating that by being more emotionally vulnerable with yourself and seeking out experiences where you're required to allow yourself to feel and experience and not be in control of that process. You have a big, beautiful heart, and you deserve people in your life that will nourish it and support it the same way you do for others. And I don't think you'll ever truly see how special you are and how valuable your presence is, your time is, and just your energy is. But you're certainly not going to see it with the people you're currently feeling obligated to serve. You're going to see it with the people that you feel a little uncomfortable around, that you feel vulnerable with, that you feel intense emotions around, that you can't quite control, because there's growth and the ability to see yourself in another. And that's an intense thing, but you can do it. There's so much love just waiting to be seen and discovered by you. And it's beyond the threshold of fear that you've been holding yourself back on. So let's go ahead now and shuffle just a few cards from this guidance deck. So Spirit, what guidance do you have for pile 2? Yes, okay, we have faith, and we have a heart card. The trigger statement is, why does this always happen to me? And the true statement is, I am at peace. Know that everything will work out as it needs to, and hold a space of gratitude as you watch the miracles unfold. Miracles is a key word for you. You are a miracle magnet. And I think that there is a part of you that needs to have faith in the unknown, and that even if things don't turn out the way you want them to, even if things are uncertain, that's what leads you to the person that you'll become. Your heart needs to be engaged in life. You will always be unsatisfied and unfulfilled. You could have everything in the world. You could have every resource in the entire world, and you would still be unfulfilled if your heart wasn't in what you were doing. I mean, you can even look at some of the most, rich people on this planet that share their thoughts and opinions with the world frequently. They're not abundant people. They're fearful. They're angry. It's not enough. They have more than anyone, and they still can't fill the voids deep in their soul, no matter how many people they impregnate. So just know, I was being petty there, but I don't care. Just know that there is no one thing that will bring you true fulfillment. There's so many ways that fulfillment occurs, but you could find fulfillment right now by just acknowledging your emotional depths and realizing that that is not a part of you to be ashamed of, and that's where you're most being in that space and just making room for feelings to surface and intensity to happen, and opening your heart up to that, that will bring you true fulfillment and the growth that you never anticipated, the momentum to continue redefining and reprioritizing what serves in your life and what needs to be discarded or what needs to be fixed. And also just realize, everything will be okay no matter what happens, but you deserve to live life more fully, and you can't do that if your heart's not in it. It's and I know you crave that. It's you crave it, but you're also afraid of it. You crave those deep feelings of love and acceptance and peace, but I think there is a part of you that just feels like you don't deserve them, or if you get them, you'll lose them, and that's just not true. It's not true at all. And so there's a need for you to have faith in yourself to navigate the unknown. Have faith in the greater powers that be, if you do have faith in that they love you and that they are carrying you and that they are supporting you. And also have faith in the hearts of others, especially the ones that meet you on a deep and profound level. They're not perfect either, but I guarantee you the right ones, especially ones that match you, they will have the same ability of maturity, the same ability to navigate and be vulnerable that you will. And maybe they'll help you do that. No matter what, though, what the experiences you're looking for out of life and the goals that you're looking to achieve are not rooted in something you need to prove or something you need to do. It's rooted in what you're believing in, and rooted in a general avoidance of the parts of you that want to be seen, the parts of you that want deeper fulfillment, that want excitement, that want to go beyond your comfort zone. That's where a lot of the magic and growth in your life will happen. And it's already happening. But just know you're far more capable than you realize, and you're already worthy of what you think you need to prove or earn. You just are. Is there anything else, Spirit? Peaceful. The trigger statement is, my life is a mess, and the true statement is, I find stillness within. Your outer world is a reflection of the inner world. Go within to find peace there, and your life will reflect that. And so that's the thing too, is you might feel like you're too messy, or you're not polished enough or perfect enough. And this is just not true either. The people that care about you will not be afraid of your mess. In fact, it will help them see that, I guarantee you wouldn't judge people if they showed you their mess, because you love cleaning up messes. So why do you think that people would be afraid of yours? I promise you, anything you judge yourself for or feel like is shameful or something that needs to be fixed or removed before you can be open to more profound and meaningful experiences, you don't. You're already ready. You're just pushing it away because you feel ashamed of what those people or things might see or might show you about yourself. And I think the biggest thing you need to see about yourself is that you are just already so lovable and wonderful, and there are so many people in this world who would be so blessed and grateful and lucky to share space with you, to share energy with you. I feel lucky and grateful to share energy with you. And I just want you to know, definitely stop feeding into the negative fears, because you have a powerful ability to create. And I'm not saying you're going to create bad things happening, but it's powerful enough to make you fearful towards taking action towards what you truly do want to create, which are beautiful, empowering, enriching life experiences, joy, peace, happiness, fulfillment, connection. Those are the things that you're moving towards when you focus on yourself and when you accept yourself. And those are the things that you will have. It's when it comes to your goals, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when it comes to being seen and heard and understood, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I just have to tell you I love you. Like, I usually wait till the end to say that, but I love you so much. And I just seeing your energy, and you don't need to work so hard to earn love. You don't need to earn love whatsoever. Love just is, and it's a resource that can just grow. You are already worthy of it. So we're gonna finish this reading off with a final guidance message, and then whatever animal comes out may be an important sign for you, or it doesn't have to be. But Spirit, what final guidance do you have for pile number 2, please? Okay. You are growing. You may not realize it or know how things are going to work out, but they will do so at the right time. Do not be afraid to let go of the world, your plans, or ways of being you have known. Yes, I love when I'm right about things. Your higher self is guiding you into the next level of authentic self-expression. This will be quite different from your past experiences, especially if most of your past experiences have not been positive. I think there's a lot of beautiful things coming into your life. And even if they have been positive, even more positive. Expect the unexpected and know you will be able to thrive in new worlds that are currently unknown to you. Embrace your process. When the time is right, you shall be ready. And we have the butterfly. Yes, transformation, growth, new cycles. I embrace the transformation that empowers me to fulfill my divine potential. So you're already in this transformative process. I think it's more so about getting a window into how you're growing and changing, and seeing that one thing I just realized that I may not have mentioned is that you may be having experiences outside of your control that are pushing you to grow in ways that you maybe wouldn't like to, because it's provoking and intense, but that's what's leading you to more power. And if there's one piece of guidance I can give you, is nurture and nourish your heart. Consult your heart. Do not neglect your emotional body. Emotions are data, the same way logic is, the same way nerve endings, feelings are data. Pay attention to them. They're also transient, and just know that you're growing into a more authentic version of yourself, and I think things are going to get easier, but you can start that process by just going easier on yourself and being compassionate with yourself in this process, and recognizing that even through this process of growth, even before it started, you were already worthy of the things you're growing into. You're already deserving of wonderful and kind things, and that you deserve to be peaceful even in the process of the unknown, and recognize that there can and will be people in your life that love you to the depth that you're capable of loving them, and that will understand you, and that will support you, and that won't take from you, but will be reciprocal. And just know too that even if there are challenges in present relationships in your life that you're not meant to cut out, but need to set boundaries with, know that the love will still remain, and it's because of that love, it will allow you both to make those types of dynamics work for both of you rather than be draining for you. So everything's just going to keep getting better, and just what you need to see about yourself is that you're worthy. Damn it, you're so worthy, and you always have been, and you always will be. So pile 2, that's where I'm going to leave this reading. I hope that resonated. I hope that made sense. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background. That's one of the easiest and simplest ways to support me. But if you'd like to support me in other ways, you can leave a little like, you can comment down below, let me know how it resonates. You can subscribe if you haven't already. Click that little notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new reading. You can check out my merch, my social media. You can check out my candles. We have mini candles. Be sure to use code ESO10 for 10% off. You can check out other videos with extendeds, but I think that's all I have for you guys. Oh, shout out to my notification squad. I usually see comments when I first upload. After that, it's up to the universe. But that's all I have for you guys. So thank you for watching and for letting me read for you. I love you guys so much. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video. And I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye! Hi there, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading and thank you so much for being here. Sorry I'm so close to the mic. I'm going to be up here until the cards are laid out. If you guys chose the pink Chalcedony cloud and the Pastel Journey Tarot, this is going to be your reading on what you don't see about yourself. So to start, we have the star. Excellent way to start. Haha, get it? Start. We have self-care and vacations. We have flair. This is so similar to the album cover of the song Ric Flair Drip. Interesting. We have the Queen of Cups. We have hide and seek. We have I am open to receive. We have the Six of Pentacles. We have angel guidance. We have the shepherd who wandered and found, the sheep who wandered and found a different shepherd. Huh, maybe that was a bit of a Freudian slip. Is that what it's called? I don't know. I'm sure he'll correct me if I'm wrong though. And we have the cold shoulder in reverse. Okay. All right, well, let me fix these because I don't want to look at this when I'm editing later and be like, everything's messed up. Okay, cool. Pile 3, what do you not see about yourself? Okay, well, first of all, I think you know you are a pure soul with a kind and generous heart that is always doing their best to give and be a supportive person to other people. But I think what you don't see about that, and actually this is kind of interesting because it's similar but different to the reading I just gave to Pile 2, where you don't recognize, I think, that you don't have to prove that you have a kind heart. You don't have to prove that you care about others. You just do. I feel like there is a part of you that holds yourself to a level of purity and kindness and just the ideals of who you want to be that I think at times rob you of your humanity, in the sense that you can still have a pure, kind heart and make a mistake or say something wrong or believe something differently or just not martyr yourself. Martyrdom is not a virtue. And if you have believed that martyring yourself in any way for others, for a cause, or for anything is a virtue, it's not. It's actually an ego response. You don't have to sacrifice yourself in order to prove to others that you have genuine intentions and that you genuinely care. I feel like there is a part of you that feels almost obligated to show up for others, whether you want to or not, because it fits the idea of who you think you need to be. And I think you feel like if you don't show up in those ways, or if you stray from that idea, then you are a bad person, or you are invalid, or people have room to criticize you or assume ill intent. I think there is something very painful when people project or assume ill intent or interpret something you do in bad faith. And I think one thing you don't see about yourself is the fact that you don't owe people that do that shit. You don't owe them anything whatsoever. And also, what you do speaks for itself. and you already give more than enough of yourself. I feel like there's almost this kind of no soul left behind mentality with you, where I feel like you will invest a lot of energy into people that don't really want that help in the first place. Maybe they just want the attention or the support or the validation. And it leaves you having less time and energy, not only for yourself, but for those that genuinely benefit from your support, presence, encouragement, and connection. And I think I think you know this, but you haven't been able to set boundaries with it because you feel obligated, like you have to accept everyone. Guess what? You don't have to. And I don't mean not acceptance and acceptance of who they are as a person, but I mean you don't have to accept. You don't always have to fulfill other people's desires for you to be there in the way that they want. I feel like you have awareness of when service is genuinely beneficial and when you know that you're either being I wouldn't say taken advantage of, because you're allowing it to happen, but it's like, I feel like sometimes you know that your time and energy would be best spent either with yourself or focusing on something or someone more constructive. Because unless you're in a care provider position where you're being paid to support these people, I feel like there are some people that are really not interested in growing or changing. They just kind of depend on your reassurance and validation for their own comfort. And I think it's very draining for you, and also something where you might get stuck in certain types of connection where not only is it imbalanced, but you might even dread connecting with them because you know that you're going to have to, you're going to be drained. And then you feel bad for feeling guilty about that. And then you feel like a bad person. And it's like, no, you're not a bad person for recognizing that someone is exhausting. And even if they don't consciously realize it, are draining your energy and your resources, your ability to just hold space for others. And I think a big part of why you may be holding back on doing anything about it is, number one, because of what we already talked about, that feeling of obligation that you might have. And number two, you might be afraid of the negative response or whatever response may come from those people. And like I said in the group before, even though their reading was quite different, and we'll get into it, I think that like you are a very sensitive person emotionally. That's a beautiful thing. I think you're just very afraid of the backlash of withdrawing your energy. And what you need to realize is that you don't owe any of those people an explanation. They are not entitled to an answer from you. They're certainly not entitled to be unkind to you or unfair to you, especially if you're not willing to open up your energy towards them. But I feel like one thing that you don't see is that if you don't give it to them, they'll just go somewhere else. More often than not, sure, they might be a little bit crappy or a little bit snooty, and that might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's far less uncomfortable than being inauthentic about how some people drain your time and energy. And I think it's mainly your emotional energy. Like, they want your advice, they want your support. If you do any sort of divination, they could expect those things for free. They could expect those things consistently. And even then, even if they are paying, you're allowed to say no and not accept the money. I feel really called to talk about this. When I started reading early on and was still doing private readings, I had someone who was a great person, like a genuinely kind person, but they would send me money before I knew that they even wanted a reading from me, and then they would tell me that they wanted a reading, and at the time I didn't have the strength or the wisdom to say no to that. I felt like, oh, well, they're giving me money, so I have to provide my service. Like, I didn't think about the fact that I could, you know, give the money back and say no, especially because it was happening at like every week or so, to the point where it maybe like wasn't healthy, or they were getting the same messages. And like I said, this person is a wonderful person, and it was my fault for not setting boundaries with them. I'm sure they would have understood, but I didn't realize that at the time. So one thing you don't see is that these people that are draining you are giving you powerful opportunities to set boundaries in kind and compassionate ways that can help both of you grow. Because if there are people that are just truly leeching off of your energy, once they can no longer feed off of you, they're just going to go elsewhere. Sure, they might be upset that their bottle was taken out of their mouth. They might cry and whine, but they're going to find a new nipple to suck. Just how it is, metaphorically speaking. Maybe not metaphorically. I don't know. I don't know what you do in your spare time. But what I do know is that I feel like you hold yourself to these standards, like I said, that kind of deny you your humanity. And when you have to remember that you're human too. And it's not only important that you set certain boundaries, but imperative. Because not only are you emotionally sensitive, but emotional volatility can be more painful and more draining and harder to work through. And because you clearly are a giving person who probably does something in a giving field, or just lives life in a way where you live a life of service no matter what it is, you need your energy. You need those boundaries so that you can serve effectively and intelligently, and give yourself adequate room to breathe so that you don't run into compassion fatigue, which I feel like for some of you, you have been. So let's talk about this aspect of yourself. You know, whether you consciously acknowledge it or not, you know that you've either been taken advantage of or have been putting up with a lot of BS that isn't cool with you. And there is this part of you that is animalistic, that is feeling rage. You might be feeling compassion fatigue right now. You might just be feeling angry and not even know why. You might recognize that you're lacking patience, and I'm sure you're seeing, I need to step back and take care of myself. But I feel like you're having a hard time doing that because you feel like you're somehow failing if you indulge in giving yourself time and space, or if you indulge in receiving. The fact that we have I am open to receive here, the universe wants to give you so much more than you're currently receiving. And that starts by not blocking your blessings anymore. I feel like that you work incessantly to feel worthy of all that you've earned. But what you don't understand is that you've already received in proportion to that which you've given. And it's actually not in proportion, because you've only received that which you're comfortable receiving. And the universe wants to give you so much more. I feel like you're being guided right now to take a second to regroup and really look at how your ideals keep you stuck in situations where you're not fully protected when you could be, and keep you stuck in situations that are preventable. Your humanity is more important than your ideals, period. Your health, safety, and wellness are more important than the ideals that you aspire to. And you may not even realize how the ideals you aspire to may be unhelpful for you, may be unhealthy for you. Because I feel like you've almost adopted those ideals partially because you believe in them, and that's a beautiful thing. But there may not be enough room for you to acknowledge that, like, you don't have to live up to those every single day. You don't always have to be perfect and pristine and flawless. I mean, in fact, that's impossible. But I feel like it comes from a place of never wanting to fail someone. And I think what you're not seeing is that in doing that, the only person you're failing is yourself. And if you're feeling resentful or angry or frustrated at how much you give and feeling like you're not getting enough in return, it's either because you're blocking that ability to receive, you're not being discerning with who and where you spend your time and energy, and also what you're asking for. If you work for yourself, remember, cheap prices attract cheap customers. Know your worth. And also recognize that you don't have to put up with bullshit. You can be kind and firm. You're not a bad person for saying no to a situation that you know doesn't serve you. But also, you need some space to just breathe, I think. I feel like there are parts of you that you're ready to discover, or that you are ready to reconnect to, that have really been calling to you. Like, I feel like especially if you've been giving a lot of yourself recently, if you've really been focused on the outside world, I think that you really need to give yourself permission to have a break and focus on more self-care. And to just be more gentle with yourself. That's actually a theme that's run through all the readings, is gentleness. But for some of you, you need to be willing to ask for more than what you're currently asking for. You know, if you're happy to continue helping someone but not for free, say that. You know, you don't need to be so self-sacrificial. And I think you know that, but you just needed the permission to acknowledge that. You're not a bad person for not sacrificing yourself. You're not a bad person for not being a martyr. And you're not a bad person for just caring for yourself and setting proper boundaries. You have the ability to be deeply enmeshed in other people. And so service for you is a relief, because you feel the pain that others are going through. You want to resolve it too. But I think sometimes you might take on so much of other people's wounds and just energy that isn't yours, and then feel like it's somehow your fault for not being able to fix it, or not being able to resolve it, or being able to, well, what I just said. And I think one thing you don't see about yourself is that it's not your responsibility to save people from their own life experiences, to save people from their suffering. Suffering is a part of life. And there are ways in which we learn to reduce it. And I think that you already do a lot to reduce suffering in the world. And I think a part of you has been suffering because you just want to be there for everyone, and because you know what it's like to suffer. And you don't want other people to experience the same thing. But what you have to understand is that suffering is a profound form of growth, and you're not responsible for resolving other people's suffering, you know, and you're not responsible for neglecting yourself in the pursuit of relieving other people's suffering, because some people just want to suffer. Not a lot. Even the ones that don't want to consciously but can't seem to break out of it, they don't want to suffer, but for whatever reason they're unable to break that cycle. But I think that there are some people who are more interested in suffering and buying into the emotional, egoic roles that they're playing within that process than actually grow and heal. And I hope for those people, and I'm sure you hope too, that they find a way to see that they don't need that to live a happy life, and that they're worthy without those. But it's not your job to do that, unless it's literally your job to do that, in which there should be clear set boundaries of when you're given to, when you are there to serve, and when and why. It is not a good thing to neglect yourself in the pursuit of saving everyone else. And I know you know that, but I think you really need to hear it, because I think that you're on the fast track to compassion fatigue, or just a deep sense of burnout, and it doesn't need to happen if you just say no. I also think as well, you're trying to look towards the future and what you want out of life and what you want to create and what you want to cultivate, and you don't have the energy to do that right now, or even explore what it is that might be uncovered, or what it is you might be looking for, because you just haven't given yourself time to be with yourself, to receive from others. I really think that the biggest thing you need to see about yourself is that you already do more than enough, and you don't need others to validate that you have a kind heart and a desire to serve. It's inherent. And those that don't see that, it's just because they don't have that tendency It's like, you know how people that cheat are always accusing other people of cheating? That works in a lot of scenarios. People that say that you're, you know, being selfish because you won't give up the last hour of your night to listen to them talk about a problem that they've talked to you about 50 times and have never resolved. You're not selfish. They are selfish for feeling entitled to your time and space and energy and ears, right? But they don't see that. So you need to see it for yourself and validate it for yourself, because if you wait for those types of people to validate it for you, you will be waiting a long time. It makes me think of like the meme pictures of like the skeleton on a bench. Like, you don't need to hold yourself back in the pursuit of everyone else's growth. You can just keep growing and trust that those that will benefit from it will find you, and those that won't will find those that they will benefit from. You do not have to save every broken, like, you are not a savior, period. You are a person that is living your life, going on your own journey, learning, growing, discovering, and just as flawed and imperfect as everyone else. You have a kind heart and a desire to do good and be good, and that is enough, and that is beautiful. And not everyone is going to see the goodness of what you're doing. Not everyone is going to validate that, but that doesn't mean that they're right. It's just their opinion. And guess what? There are a lot of shitty opinions out there. There's also a lot of great ones. And you don't need to consider the ones that make you feel bad about yourself. I definitely think that your light has been dimming a little bit recently and you felt disconnected from yourself. And it's just because you haven't been taking time to connect with you, that other people have taken priority over you. And I think that you just need to give back some of that love that you give to others back to yourself. And just give yourself time to be playful and fun and curious. You are not obligated to be zeroed in on the suffering of humanity and the problems of others every waking moment of your life. That's no way to live. And I think there is a part of you that is afraid of your more feral animalistic side, the part of you that gets angry when you know you're being taken advantage of, the part of you that gets annoyed when you have to hear, when you're hearing someone who can solve a problem, not solve it, and tell you about it over and over. Like, and in those moments, you can be kind and honest and say, hey, we've talked about this multiple times, and you seem to not really do anything about it. Like, you can be more truthful. And I think that there is a part of you that is afraid of your own rage, afraid of the attitude that everyone gets when they're tired of people draining their time and energy, of just like, fuck this, like, get the hell away from me. Like, and that response is coming from a place of self-love where it knows you need space. You need the room to relax. You need peace. You need the opportunity to just be with yourself and be with your own good vibes, because you've got so many good vibes. And I feel like you feel obligated to give them all away, and you're not. In fact, if when you feel good or receive healing, your first instinct is to give it to others, stop right there and sit with it. It's yours. They're your good vibes. They're your healing. And I think that really what it comes down to is just having the wisdom to recognize that belief systems and ideals that you try to live up to can be shifted and have more nuance than maybe you're currently giving them, and that you can still be just as kind and pure and wonderful and act in ways that are fair to you. There will always be people that will not understand why your logic in doing something, that will have a problem or a complaint. But it's not your job to prove to them. What you don't see about yourself is that you need more self-energy in your life. You need more opportunities to receive the benefits of all that you've been giving, because there's a lot the universe wants to give to you. And I think that you know that your future is bright and there's a lot for you to experience. But it seems like you're kind of in a stuck in a cycle right now where you're just feeling like But if I stop giving in the way I have been giving, what if people get mad at me? What if they think it's been fake? What if they've been... I think one thing that you haven't seen is that you've been placing your value in your ability to help others, and that's not fair. Isn't the fact that you pursue, like you follow the pursuit of helping others, and that you are there and supportive and try to help others in general, like, isn't that already so beautiful and just so indicative of the wonderful person that you are? There's definitely a need for you to take less personally the effectiveness of your care and support, because ultimately it's not about how effective it is, it's about the fact that you were willing to give it and you did your best. And I know from these cards you always do your best. And I think in order for you to do your best, you need to be honest about what you need that you haven't been giving yourself or receiving, and how you've been neglecting yourself, because you can't care for others and also neglect yourself. It just can't happen. And I think that there is a part of you that feels like you have to hide the more visceral, the more intense, the more passionate parts of yourself, out of fear that if you have an opinion that someone doesn't agree with, or have a take that isn't flawless, that somehow you will be viewed as a bad person and everyone will hate you and ostracize you. And it's just not realistic. You are already so wonderful, and there's no reason to be so hard on yourself. You need to see that you're not some omnipresent spiritual power. Well, you kind of are, but it's within a finite, fallible human body that needs care and nurturing too. And I think that you have a very powerful, very generous spirit, but you really haven't gotten to reap the benefits of that, because you've definitely pushed away opportunities to receive more and just pushed away opportunities to care for yourself. One thing you need to do, if you've been thinking about taking a vacation, whether it's a staycation or go somewhere, do it. I feel like your intuition is going to continue to get louder, and your compassion fatigue and burnout is going to get worse the more you kind of avoid yourself and avoid caring for yourself. And just know, if you think you're being compassionate, you're not. True compassion extends to yourself as well as others. So just know that. And also know that you don't owe anyone anything. You are already such a bright light. There will be people that want that light for themselves, but it's not your job to give yours away. It's your job to do what you can to help ignite theirs, and it's not your fault if they can't make that happen. And it's not your job to do anything other than, unless something is literally your job, which if it's literally your job, then that's different. But even then, if it's literally your job, set proper boundaries so that you're not doing things you're uncomfortable with or allowing people to run your business for you. What you don't see is that you don't have to do anything in order to receive more, other than maybe ask for more, or just be more open to what uplifts you and what feels good, and maybe just giving yourself the opportunity to splurge on something you wanted to do, or a place you wanted to go, or just really give yourself time and care and receive that, and know that you've earned it and you deserve it. You deserve so much more than what you give yourself credit for, and you don't have to stay in this perpetual loop of giving everything of yourself in order to feel worthy of just getting enough in return. You deserve more than enough. And I think the universe wants to give you a lot more, but it can't if you hold your arms up and say, oh no, I couldn't possibly accept this. Learn to be as comfortable with receiving as you are giving, because you will find that there's a lot of fun, beauty, and fulfillment in life that wants to find you. So I'm just gonna pull really quickly and see what you need to know about these aspects of self. Or I guess, how can pile 3 stop blocking the blessings that they're ready to receive, Spirit? Moving forward, I think definitely. With the 6 of Swords as well, I think that there's also a need for you to maybe move beyond self-sacrificial ideas, ones that make you feel like you're not good enough. But also, I think maybe you have the opportunity to travel or to move or to just go somewhere or move your business or move what you do to a place that could be just more suited to your needs and be more fulfilling for you. But also, I think that there's just a need for you to move on from the ideas that you know are holding you back and the belief systems that you know are holding you back. Because I do think there is a part of you that just doesn't feel worthy of what the universe wants to give you. And the only way that they can do that is, the only way that they can give it to you is if you recognize that wasn't true and that came from a place of hurt. And I know that I'm worthy of more. And when you are feeling hurt or when someone makes you feel unworthy, you know, just having the ability to move forward. Like, I'm hearing Jinx Monsoon in my head, like water off a duck's back, like, you know. But I also think too, just being cognizant of how you spend your time and energy, and whether you're there because it feels mutually aligned, it feels good, or because you feel obligated. And also just recognizing if there's anything you need to move forward from that's taking away a lot of your time and energy. And just see, what do you need to move towards? Maybe you just need to explore. Maybe what the universe wants to help you receive, you don't even know what it is. Maybe this is a call to adventure. And maybe you just need to receive excitement and spontaneity and not be the answer for everyone else, but allow yourself to explore your own questions instead. What else do you want pile 3 to know about themselves at this time? Yeah, a lot of your fears, like a lot of the things that you get worked up over are not reality. Like, I feel like they're not rooted in reality whatsoever. Like, I feel like you might be afraid that you're gonna be like mega canceled for setting boundaries with someone or something like that. And it's like, no, actually, I think the worst case scenario, someone might be kind of upset with you and then they'll get over it. But those are the types of people those people that are upset with the boundaries that you set are the exact reason why you need them. But also, I think that you may be so used to being there for others, you may not realize that you need someone to be there for you. So you might want to look at getting like a counselor or just someone that can support you, you know, especially if you are a service provider or care provider. I think it's very beneficial for you to also have someone that you can go to for care. But I definitely think that your fears are much bigger than the reality of whatever may happen should you shift your energy, make changes, do things differently. And I also just think that you don't see, like, I mean, I want to say capable, but you know you're capable. I just don't think you see how enough you are already, and the fact that, like, you're not very good at measuring, like, when enough is enough, like, especially when it comes to giving to others. And I think that's room for growth for you. And I think really what it comes down to is that you can't measure other people's responses as knowing when something is enough. I think listening to your own body, listening to how you feel, and listening to just like what your capacity is to give, I think that will be more helpful in terms of knowing what is enough. And just knowing that, like, you don't have to be perfect, you don't have to fix everything. Your best is enough. And your best may not be 100 every day, but that's still okay. And I also think that you may just need more sleep. That could be a problem as well. And if you're having trouble sleeping because of, you know, mental health or things like that, I definitely think you need time off and support from care providers. Please do that. Please receive help. It's not noble to hide your own suffering and support others. It's kind of hypocritical. And it's really harmful to you. So, Spirit, what other guidance do you have for pile 3, please? We have gratitude. The trigger statement is, I am overwhelmed, and the true statement is, I am moving. The time for planning is complete. Take action, no matter how small. Begin today. So I feel like there are things you know you need to do, and you should just start doing them. I feel like whatever you're afraid to move towards, you'll realize is more okay than you ever thought. And I also think that a lot of the overwhelm that you're experiencing will dissipate as you kind of trust yourself, trust your heart, and trust the direction you're headed in. And just also kind of realize, like, you don't have to have everything figured out. You don't have to have all the answers. And it's, in fact, when you open yourself up to the unknown and accept the unknown, that you'll receive answers that you didn't even realize you were looking for. Is there anything else, Spirit? That's so interesting. This came out in another group as well. So we have a grounding card, and the trigger statement is, I'm not ready for what comes next, and the true statement is, I take it one step at a time. Although things are shifting so quickly, be present and know this is part of a greater plan. So yeah, I feel like there are changes that you're going through that are kind of overwhelming, that are kind of scary, but you know you're ready for this. You know you're ready for change, and the powerful negative feelings that you're having are just signaling to you, hey, it's time to change. Hey, we can't tolerate this much longer. Hey, it's making us mad that you're denying yourself your humanity and denying your feelings because you feel bad and wrong for having them. Feelings are data. Don't attach moral purity to them. They're just data, and the intensity of them is just a reflection of something needing to be seen. So we're gonna finish off with a final guidance card, and there's like different animals, so you can use this animal or creature as a sign. But pile 3, Spirit, what final guidance do you have for them at this time? What do they need to hear? Oh yeah, we've got a mythical creature. We have a Pegasus. With divine grace, grand accomplishment becomes possible. An inspired idea is awakening in your soul. Do not allow it to become tainted by negativity, greed, or ego. Protect what matters to your soul by surrounding yourself with white light and asking for spiritual grace to be with you always. You can be a guide and a guardian for others when you stay connected to the pure love of spirit. So that's something that you need to work on. And I feel like that's the thing, is like sometimes you prioritize being there for others over your own like spiritual connection and over your connection to yourself. And of course that's going to happen sometimes. We can't be perfect, but I feel like the more you go without it, the more you forget that you need it. And then you might be like, why am I exhausted? Why is everything like so much harder than it needs to be? And I think it's because you're disconnected from your higher self and from your spiritual self. It is not up to you to decide what others need to do. Have faith in your loving connection with spirit. Have faith that your loving connection with spirit will be helping others to find and live their own truth, blessed by divine grace. And it says, inspiration, grace, clarity. I open my heart to divine inspiration and the protection of spiritual grace. So yeah, I feel like things are gonna happen much more easily than you realize. And I feel like you really just need to be open to more magic and just be kinder to yourself and give yourself credit for all that you do and all that you give and in the ways that you already serve, because you deserve to appreciate that and acknowledge that and give yourself that credit. Stop waiting for others to give it for you. I mean, it's nice to get it from others, but affirmation of all that you do for yourself, I think, is powerful too. So pile 3, that is where I'm going to leave this reading. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background. That is one of the simplest and easiest ways to show support and appreciation for my channel. So thank you to everyone who does that. If you'd like to support me in other ways, liking the video, super helpful. Comment down below, let me know how it resonates. You can subscribe if you haven't already. You can click that little notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new reading. You can check out my merch. You can check out my social media. You can check out my candles. Be sure to use code ASA10 for 10% off. Any candles on Angelic Magic 888's site. You can check out other videos, ones with extendeds. Shout out to my interest squad. I love you guys. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. So thank you so much for watching and for letting me read for you. I hope you will have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye! Hi there, pile 4. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. Sorry I'm talking quietly. I'm going to be up close to the mic until I lay your cards down. But if you guys chose Ramiel and the Ethereal Visions Tarot, this is going to be a reading on what you don't see about yourself. So to start, we have the Ace of Swords. We have the Ten of Swords. We have protection, as well as justice. We also have trust. We have I am blessed. We have the Knight of Cups, ungrateful daughter and earthly mother. We have the Zoom meeting, which is a mood. And finally, self-deception. Okay. I want to give you like such a big hug already. And first of all, just let you know, like, don't fear these cards. This is not a negative reading. Even if I had a tough message to give, which I don't feel that I do, that doesn't mean anything's negative. It just means there's information that always isn't the most fun to digest. But here's actually something you don't see, or I think have a hard time believing in, is the fact that your natural instincts are not wrong. And in fact, a lot of your pain right now, I think, is, if you are feeling pain, it could be pain, it could be angst, it could be internal tension, frustration, burnout, apathy. There's a lot of different experiences here. But whatever you are currently experiencing that you would rather not be, that is a direct response to the fact that you're definitely suppressing that big, beautiful heart of yours and the beautiful dreams and visions you have of a life that you love. And that doesn't have to be something that's different from your current life, just your life with more love added to it, with more whimsy. And I feel like you're working really hard to try and suppress that part of your nature because you feel like you can't trust it, or you feel like it's gotten you hurt before, or that other people wouldn't get it if you shared this side of yourself or fully believed in it. I feel like one thing you don't see about yourself is that your natural inclination to want to look at the world through I wouldn't call it as extreme as rose-colored glasses, but like just looking at the world with more love and magic, and appreciating the smaller things, appreciating deep connection, appreciating the romantic, sensual aspects of life. That's not a bad part of your nature. That's an incredible part of your nature. And we need more people like you that have that perspective, living by it, because our society is so spiritually, emotionally, and artistically dry right now. We have been conditioned to think about things from a linear perspective. And here's the thing that you don't see is that you have a hard time trusting yourself, and I think you see that. But what you don't realize is that you're far more aware and in tune with situations than you realize. I feel like your brain might work against you sometimes, where you get into cycles of overthinking. And I do think that one thing you may not realize is that you certainly have been upholding ideas or beliefs that aren't true to you, that you may be holding on to because they feel safer and it feels like it's protection. But really what it's doing is cutting you off from an integral part of your nature that makes life sweeter and keeps you connected to your wholeness. And because you are whole, and in order to be whole, your heart needs to be in the picture. And it's not just about your heart, but it's about giving yourself grace and permission to look at the world through an optimistic perspective, to look at the world through a romantic lens that, not a lot of people do. That sort of perspective is often belittled or shamed by society, and it can be a painful way to look at the world when you know, we buy into or believe in, you know, a certain perspective that turns out not to be true. It can make us feel like we can't trust that part, or make us feel like we were stupid or wrong for looking at the world that way, and it's just not true. You know, I think a lot of you here maybe can relate to the experience of being heartbroken by seeing the truth of someone, maybe after a long time of believing they were different, or believing in the idea of them, or believing in a version of themselves that they presented that wasn't the full reality. And one thing I need you to see about yourself is it is an incredible thing to look at someone with so much love and literally make them magic, because that is a gift that you have, is to make anything magical. And I think part of the problem that people say magic isn't real is because they don't recognize the magic right in front of their face. Like, look at the time lapse of a flower growing from a seed to fully bloomed. Like, when you look at it happen really fast, it's magical. And truth be told, it's like kind of I think there's just so many natural things in life that are magical, like the process of growing a child inside of you, or, you know, the process of creating a piece of art out of thin air and inspiration. Like, there's so many things that are magical that other people would write off as just the biological processes or the material processes of how that happens, if they have that data, and hold on to that as the absolute truth. And I feel like, here's the thing, you're not delusional in your magic, and like, you don't have like magical thinking. You're not like denying reality in favor of a reality that feels better, that aligns with your desires. You have a good grasp on what is rational, what is reasonable, and that's for like all the more why you should give yourself more grace and more opportunity to embrace the parts of you that want to look at the world in more loving eyes, and look at yourself in more loving eyes, and just experience life in a more romantic way. And that could include like romantic relationships. There is a component here, and I guess this is only a message if you're single. You know, you might have met someone recently, or you might be opening yourself up to dating again, and you might be desiring to open yourself up to that, but really pushing it off because you're afraid of being vulnerable, or you feel like it's just going to end up bringing you pain, or it's not going to be worth it. And I think one thing you don't see about yourself is the fact that your past experiences have taught you a lot. And I think that you're far better at picking up on red flags that you missed in the past, and you're also less attached to the idea of people than you once were. And that's a beautiful sign of growth, and a beautiful sign of the fact that you can enter into the unknown in ways where your heart will be vulnerable, and know that you have your own back, and that while you may not be able to control what happens, you have all the capabilities of protecting yourself. And I think you just maybe don't trust yourself, it's almost like you're afraid that you'll get lost and lose a part of yourself, that rational part of yourself. That rational part of yourself is not going anywhere. And in fact, your painful past experiences and past endings, they've taught you what you've needed to be even more successful in life and in love, and in directing your life path the way that you want it to be. I feel like one thing you don't see about yourself is the fact that you are very blessed. And I don't mean that in a way of like, oh, you're not practicing gratitude, but rather just the fact that even though it may not always seem like it, you are being guided, you are being protected, you do have beings that love you unconditionally watching your back, and you are blessed, and the universe loves you and wants to bless you the same way you want and desire those blessings too. And I feel like you really deny that part of you that looks at life more magically, because you're afraid of that being wrong, you're afraid of looking stupid, or believing in a perspective that you would come to find out later would be delusional or wrong. And that heartbreak, I can completely understand, is something that you're unsure if you can bear. But the thing that you don't see is that you're not, the perspective that you desire to embody more is not delusional. In fact, it's very necessary in order for you to make moves in the world that are in alignment with you, take action that's alignment with you, and to be open to the things that you actually want out of life. And I see this Knight of Cups in so many different examples. Like for some of you, it could be opening up to dating more. For others, it could be changing your life in a way that could be kind of uncomfortable, or in a way that makes you uncertain of what to do. Or you, like for example, maybe if you're wanting to change up your life in some way, you may be feeling like that desire is silly and it's not practical or reasonable to do that. Or you may even feel like I'm hearing sunken cost fallacy. Like you may be holding on to an idea or a situation or an experience, or maybe even a person, where your needs aren't being met. You're stuck in ego. I mean, this ungrateful daughter and earthly mother, like these are both representations of you, and kind of just an example of how all of us at any point in time can get caught up in our egos. And the thing about an ego is, like, you're not bad for having one. You're not bad for being stuck in one. An ego is just a protective mechanism against fear. And all your ego really does is keep your thinking small and try to urge you to protect yourself in the ways it thinks it can keep you safe. And a lot of times those protective mechanisms cut ourselves off from our hearts, from our faith, from our ability to trust in the unknown and take risks. And I definitely think that one thing you're not seeing is that I think the ways that you're deceiving yourself are the ways that are leading you to feel more dissatisfied with life and just feel more lost and confused. And it's not, and I don't think it's because you're getting mixed messages from the world. I think it's because you're just not trusting the messages that your body, that your heart, and that your intuition are telling you, you know? I feel like you don't realize that you have the wisdom and the life experience necessary to be fair to yourself and protect yourself even in the face of the unknown. And I feel like one thing you don't see about yourself is that it's not just the current version of you that needs your whimsical perspective back. It's the younger versions of you that need it too. You know, I feel like this actually makes me want to cry. Like I can just feel like a childhood version of you feeling so misunderstood and just feeling like people don't get your perspective. Are you looking at the world and just feeling confused because why don't people see that something is so obvious? Like, you know, when you're a kid and you look at adults and you're like, why don't you just see that that love is what's important, that connection is what's important, that, you know, being silly and having fun is what's important. And then you grow up and you're like, yeah, but I also have to pay taxes and there's many stressors and life be lifing, and we have developed frontal lobes now, and you know, we're conditioned to think in certain ways, and it's really easy to lose those parts of yourself that are the most integral to like the truth of your spirit and the truth of who you are, and that also just make life bearable, because there are so many aspects of life that are not ideal and that are hard, and it's hard to be present. And you know, obviously with having a whimsical perspective, in its shadow it can be delusional. It can lead you to trust the wrong people or miss red flags right in front of your face. Like, but the shadow of thinking purely logically and thinking of things as only, I'll trust what I can see, or I'll trust what makes sense, or what others say is right, you know, that's a shadow too, and that keeps you stuck as well. And I think one thing you're not seeing is that you may think that you can trust yourself. Maybe you know that you can't. For some of you, you're like, girl, I don't trust myself. Well, you should start. number one, because I think you will be pleasantly surprised. Like, think of the process of building trust with yourself as the same with building trust with anyone else that you love or care about. You know, it's earned, it's a process, and it has to be built. And there are going to be times where you might betray your own trust, or you might, you know, make the wrong decision. But that's where trusting in your ability to navigate those challenges and be gentle with yourself in that process is so important, because that's what helps you feel safe to trust yourself again, and also be able to recognize pitfalls in the future where you did betray yourself in the past and say, okay, I know what the outcome of this looks like. If I make this choice, I'm not going to do that. And that's an excellent example of how you build trust within yourself. And I think that if you've had the harsh awakening in the past of realizing that you are putting your trust all in the external and not in your ability to take action, or your ability to say no or say yes, or to ask questions or explore, I definitely think that you're really being encouraged to lean into trusting yourself more, and just trusting that the universe is working with you and you're not subject to its whims. You're a creator being, and you have the ability to create what you want out of life within whatever barriers you perceive, of course, or that may or may not exist. But you have the ability to create more than you can fathom. And I think that one thing you're not seeing is that by denying this beautiful, wonderful perspective you have of life and others, not only are you making your life drier, but it's also hard for you to create the life that is truly fulfilling for you, or just even live your day-to-day life in a more fulfilling way, because you may just be denying yourself those beautiful, precious, small moments of connection, or of beauty, or of magic that you deserve to experience, and inspire others to see the world that way too. One thing you also need to see is that workaholism is not a virtue, and giving of yourself to everyone but yourself is not a virtue. And I think what's really interesting is, one thing you may not be seeing is that I think the truths of others have really been running the show for you internally, whether you consciously recognize it or not. And they don't have to be people that you know in real life. They could just be things you've read online. But I think it's so interesting how we have all these swords over here. And a sword can be a tool of defense, but it also can be used to inflict pain, right? And it just seems like the truths of others have permeated your psyche in a way where you're not even recognizing anymore that those beliefs are not even yours. They're not, it's non-self energy. It's non-self thoughts and beliefs that you may be taking on as your own, because you've been so disconnected from yourself for a hot minute. And I think what you really need to see is that there's nothing wrong with your true nature. And in fact, everything is like, life is just always going to feel shittier when you do deny your true nature. When you do shame yourself for being optimistic or being hopeful, or looking at life in a whimsical way, you know? Sometimes life won't live up to our whimsical perspective, but that doesn't have to stop us from continuing to see the good and see the beautiful in all things that we can. You know, hope is a heavy thing to carry, and it's okay to drop it. But I think that it's imperative that you give yourself the freedom to pick it back up and learn to trust in the fact that whatever life throws your way, you can handle. And I think that what you don't see is that you're more than ready to open yourself up to more life and more love, more magic, more spontaneity, more creativity, more adventure. And that you will be able to handle whatever comes your way. And the thing about this too is, there are no guarantees for how things turn out and how things evolve and how things unfold. But no matter what happens and how we perceive them from our earthly perspectives, you never know what blessing is behind them. And I think that for you, you may be reflecting on a lot of past experiences and realizing like, wow, that was a blessing in disguise, or wow, I'm glad that ended when it did, or wow, like I'm glad I got away from that situation, or I'm glad that things didn't pan out the way that that I thought they would. Like, I feel like there may be times where it can be painful to be in that beautiful, loving, optimistic perspective because of how painful it can be when you're disappointed or when things don't turn out the way you hoped they would. But what a beautiful thing to even enter something with an open heart and an open mind and the desire to ground more beauty into the world. That is something that is not cherished enough or cheered on enough. So I right now, like, you need to see that your perspective is so beautiful and you deserve to honor it. And even if you don't feel safe to share it with others, give yourself the grace and the right to do what is true for you and let go of what isn't, because it's your ego that's trying to deny these beautiful perspectives of yours. And it's your ego that's directly causing you pain in this situation. And and to be fair to your ego's like, no, we've done this in the past and we've gotten hurt. But you've grown, you've learned. Feelings are transient. They can bring tough lessons, but you certainly won't get to experience bliss if you're not willing to also open up to the lingering pain that might be stopping you from opening yourself up to yourself and to others more. I feel like you are so fair to other people, but it's hard for you to be fair to yourself. And I think that what you don't see is that it's so unfair for you to write off your loving look at the world, your magical viewpoint of the world, your magical beliefs, to write them off as delusion or as a flaw or something that is bad or wrong about you, because that's so unfair to yourself. And I think that is a big source of whatever negative internal conflicts you might be experiencing, because there's a part of you that's ready to expand, ready to kind of declutter what's unnecessary in your life and open yourself up more to others that may already be in your life, or new experiences, or having more frequent experiences of things that light you up and make you feel joyful and happy and that fulfill your heart. You're ready to do that. And I think you need to give yourself permission to just take a leap into the unknown and let your heart lead you, because you're not going to let your heart lead you off a cliff. You have the wisdom to see the cliff ahead and go, hey, maybe we should take a step back. Let's not do that. You can trust yourself. And in turn, that will help you trust life more and trust the flow of things more, because you'll realize you'll always land on your feet. And whatever things you do experience, they're all leading you towards more life and more love and more growth. And I think one of the strongest, most beautiful parts of having a perspective like yours is that even though you might go through intense, painful experiences, even though in the moment you might perceive them far more harshly or far more negatively, or there isn't even a positive interpretation of what you experience, as you move through it, you always find a way to make your pain, your mistakes, have meaning and have a valuable story behind them, a valuable lesson behind them. And it's not that we need to learn our lessons from the hard things that we go through, but I feel like the rational side of you, because it kind of disconnects from the heart space, it forgets that the heart is ready to make beautiful meaning and create wisdom and create inspiration from even the hardest of experiences. And you have a beautiful perspective. And right now I feel called to say too, like, if you are a creative, well, you are a creative. It doesn't matter if you haven't created a damn thing in your life. It's the only thing stopping you is starting, you know, and creativity could be anything. And we are creator beings. Like, we're meant to create. It's important for us. And what we create is different for every person. But I think the inspiration you take from all all experiences of life can just be really powerful for your creative pursuits. And I think that when you get stuck into thoughts or energies that you know are not you, like if you find yourself feeling insecure about things you're not normally insecure about, or just find yourself having feelings that don't really align with your truth, that's not a sign that you're doing something wrong or that you're failing. That's just a sign that you're disconnected from yourself, and there's parts of you that need love and for you to address them. And then you'll see, oh, okay, this part of me was feeling a little uncomfortable or feeling, unworthy, but I see why this is, and I know I can do XYZ to support that. You need to see that you are valid. You are valid as fuck. And it is such a betrayal to you to let other people write the script of how you should look at life. And it is so unfair, not only to the present you, but to little you, adolescent you, teenage you, that had hope in what life would bring. And I feel like you always have, I think you always return to hope, but it could be you've been really disconnected from that for a little while, and what you need to see is that it's not lost and it's not gone. You're just going through a process of growth, and even being stuck in ego, in fear, in let's be rational and let's stay small and protect ourselves, there's important learning and wisdom in that too. And I think one of the most important wisdoms of it is the realization that you can't thrive and live that way, and that you don't deserve to keep yourself in that state because it makes sense. It actually doesn't make sense at all. A lot of logic is not very logical. Just makes logical sense to those that say it and believe it. So what you need to see about yourself is that you're so precious and you deserve all the love that life wants to give you, and it doesn't matter how much love life sends your way. If you're not open to receive it, it'll fly right by you. And I think that's an even sadder thing in your case, because you have such a profound ability to see love behind all things and behind the small things, and see spirit in places where nobody else would. That's such a special, beautiful, incredible, and amazing thing, and it is an integral part of who you are. It's also integral to being able to navigate life based on your internal guidance system. So what you need to know is that you can trust yourself, and that everything's going to be okay, and that you are far more equipped than you realize to look at life the way that truly resonates with your heart, and trust that the wonderful mental faculties that you have will be an excellent support system to help your heart lead the way in the healthiest, most aligned ways for you. So I just want to build upon that for a second and just see if there's anything else Spirit wants you to know about what we've just talked about. So Spirit, is there anything else you would like Pile 4 to know? Yeah, the moon. You're like a moon baby. Shout out to the Cancers out there. We also have Libra energy. You don't have to have either of those placements, but there's nothing wrong with your softness. There's nothing wrong with your ethereal nature. And I think the thing with the moon is the moon is not always clear. The moon talks about things like intuition, secrets, possible illusions, intuition, the unknown. But there's also this primal part of the moon, Things howl at the moon controls the tides. I don't know. The moon is just, she's incredible. I love her. I hope you love her too. Like the moon, you have many cycles and phases. And I think that you might cycle through those quite often. And just know that if you find yourself returning to an experience within a new cycle that is familiar to an experience you had in a previous cycle, that was negative and that you did not enjoy, did not want to be, know that you are not a failure for returning to that place, even though you may be older, you may be at a different spot. That is just an opportunity for you to take what you've learned since those previous cycles and apply it, and recognize that there's nothing wrong with you returning to this state, but in fact there's so many opportunities for you to see what this state is trying to communicate with you and where maybe you need more light or more clarity. But your intuition is quite powerful and you can trust it. And I think one thing that you need to be gentle with when it comes to you and see about yourself is that you are not meant to wake up and feel consistently every single day. You are not meant to be, you don't reset at 0 every day or back to 0 every day. Your emotional states, your experiences, where you're at energetically is in a constant state of flux, and it's okay not to have clarity on that all the time. You have the ability to navigate perfectly fine, and I feel like there's a part of you that thinks that you need more answers, more clarity, more trust in order to be able to move forward in life. And I'm getting the example of, like, if you drive, if you've ever driven on a night when it's especially foggy and hard to see, and you really have no choice but to look at the two like painted lines to make sure you're staying in line and just kind of look at what's directly ahead. That's kind of the best way I can describe how you navigate this energy, to just stay inside the lines of the boundaries that you know you need in order to stay safe, in order to stay centered and authentic to yourself. But just look at what's directly in front of you and don't worry about what's ahead, because you can't see it anyway. When you're meant to see what's further ahead, it will reveal itself to you. Trust me, you're far too intuitive not to get those messages. You know, it's like, if the phone is not ringing, by the phone I mean your intuition, then trust that there's nobody trying to call. There's nothing you need to know. You just need to trust yourself. Trust what feels true to you, and whatever you can do to make your perspective one that you feel comfortable with in the moment. Yeah. Never stop looking at the world the way that your childhood self looked at it. Because that reality does exist, and so many people just don't buy into it and don't see it and don't understand it. And I don't know if you have children in your life, or maybe if you have children in the future, or if you're just around children, like, imagine how special it would have been for your younger self to have those whimsical perspectives validated by a real human adult and not a Disney movie. Like, that's special. And your perspective is not just about you. It's also about how your perspective inspires others, and the way that your perspective can literally alter the fate of your life and the lives of others by being willing to open up to life in ways that many other people wouldn't, or change your life in ways that could alter the course of life and other humans. Anything else, Spirit? I just feel this, like, I feel so, y'all know me, I got a bad case of the Aries scaries, and there's just such a gentleness and a peacefulness that's lying beneath your conscious mind. Definitely Google ways to support your parasympathetic nervous system, because I think when you're in that state, parasympathetic rest, or whatever it's called, I haven't done science in a long time, I feel like it'll be a lot easier for you to tap into your intuition, and also just kind of observe what your mind is telling you, and instead of just taking that on as truth, just being like, oh, I don't believe that, or oh, that's not really a helpful thought to have, and like, oh, this might be sabotaging my ability to trust my heart because it's telling me the opposite. It's telling me it's not safe. You can trust yourself. I know I've said that a million times, but you can trust yourself. Is there anything else, Spirit? Yeah, we have the Two of Wands and the Eight of Cups. So it really is time to walk away from what isn't emotionally fulfilling you. And I feel like for a lot of you, that's not even like a literal thing to walk away from, but rather just walking away from a perspective that you know isn't serving you, that you know is keeping you stuck and keeping you from moving forward in life in ways that excite you and motivate you and empower you. I also think with the Two of Wands, you're being encouraged to start planning your life with more magic and romance involved in it. You know, whether that's just, I'm going to take the scenic route to work today, or I'm going to take an extra long walk and go bird watching. Like, it doesn't have to be big things, but I do think that one thing that could be helpful, because it is human nature and our own it's human nature to just kind of run on autopilot and do what is efficient or what makes sense, and just kind of be in a mental state that makes it hard to remember to slow down and to just appreciate things in the moment. So if you could even plan, you know, times where you're going to give yourself unapologetic creativity time, or time to do something that's just for you, or just that gives you the opportunity to slow down, I think that could be a helpful way for you to let go of maybe the unhealthy patterns of thinking that have been suppressing your spirit in the first place. And I think you'll also realize that, you know, the beautiful perspective that you do have does need to be supported and cultivated and fed into, because it is your natural inclination to go to what is reasonable, rational, logical. Even though it may not be your true nature, it is certainly something you've been conditioned to do, and it's not a bad thing. It just needs to be tempered with your heart. So Spirit, what guidance do you have for pile 4, please? And wow, okay, there's like 80 some cards, and we have repeating cards once again. The trigger statement is, my life is a mess. And the true statement is, I find stillness within. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. Go within and find peace there. Your life will reflect that. Go within and find your magic. Find your excitement. Find your hope. Find the things that light you up. That will help you find them in the outside world. And it's funny too, because like I have felt so peaceful during this reading, and if you've watched any of me in my other readings, my energy is how I deliver readings is heavily dependent on the energy of who I'm reading for, and so you guys have this like incredible calmness, like peacefulness. It's such a vibe. Like I'm like, can I bottle up your inner world and like chug it, like? Can I get a daily supplement of your internal experience? Because I feel like you're like, well, I want it too. And it's like, well, guess what? You can have it. You just have to get out of your mind and settle into it. It's like if this beautiful, peaceful nature were a hot tub, it's like you're not getting into the hot tub because there are towels thrown everywhere. And then you just remembered that you don't have your bathing suit on. So you got to go get your bathing suit on. And then you come out and then you're like, oh, well, I should get drinks. You're just not getting in the hot tub. Get in the hot tub. Let go of the things that need to be done. I don't think that's a good example, but that's what came through for whatever reason. What else, Spirit? What other guidance do you have for pile 4? Belief. The trigger statement is, it is too late, and the true statement is, I am free to believe. Yes, you are clearing away beliefs, energy, and memories that no longer serve you, so the necessary decisions will be made. And that is the thing too. You will never regret making decisions from the heart, especially when you have your wonderful mind protecting you from going too far off the deep end in the other direction. And even then, even if you do make a decision that ends up not making sense on paper, or that logically you wouldn't want, or that is challenging, you know, it may just be what your heart needs. It may just be what you need to experience at that time, and you never know what it could lead you to. I definitely think that your ego needs your support in ways where, like in terms of being in your ego, give your ego the credit of, ego keeps us separate, right? And really roots us in our own human experiences. So give your ego the opportunity to bolster you, in the sense that This is your perspective and you deserve it, and other people don't have to understand it. Healthy ego is fine. And I think that your solar plexus area really just needs more love from you, and I think that you need to give yourself the gift of sovereignty, and remember that you don't have to accept what you don't subscribe to, and just because someone else outside of you believes that and sees the world that way doesn't mean it's true, and doesn't mean that it's more true or more powerful than how you see the world. Okay, so we're gonna finish off with a final guidance card, and there will be a little animal on it, so that might be a sign for you. But pile 4, Spirit, what guidance would you like to finish their reading off with? What does pile 4 need to know? Okay. Yes! Oh my god, I love when I'm correct about everything. It's almost like if people listen to me more often, the world would be a better place. I hope that's why you're here. I hope I've made your world a little bit better place. You've made mine one. I don't want to leave this reading, truthfully. That's why I'm kind of stalling, because I'm like, this energy feels so good. Because I'm going to leave this reading, and then I'm not going to get in the hot tub. And so, well, the metaphorical hot tub. So just know it's a lot easier said than done, but you can do it. We can both do it. Give yourself permission to find your own way to live. If you do not feel like you can be your authentic self, check what influences you've allowed into your mind and your life. Do you need to change your spiritual diet in some ways so that you are taking in more physical, emotional, and or mental nourishment? Don't be afraid to show your true colors. Yes. I saw Cyndi Lauper in concert recently, and it was one of the best experiences of my life, watching her sing True Colors live. So if you can see Cyndi Lauper, please go see her. But also, look up her story. She's a fascinating human being and such an inspiration. We love Cyndi Lauper around here. When you allow the real you to be seen, others will be able to recognize your beauty and grace. Don't hide yourself or deny yourself what you need to flourish, including a wild and free heart. That's what you need, a wild and free heart. And you're a flamingo. I love flamingos. Authenticity, nourishment, individuality. My beauty is unique and inspirational, and so is your perspective. And what you need to see about yourself is that there is nothing wrong with you. And flamingos, they're like one of the few pink birds of the animal world. And someone who's never seen a flamingo will be like, birds aren't pink. And it's just because they've never seen a flamingo before. Sometimes people need to, in order for other people to see your perspective, they need to see someone else live by it. And that's why you need to, because not only is it the truth for you, the truth of what you believe, but there are so many people that I think are looking for permission and encouragement to see the world the way that you do. And you are a beautiful source of inspiration for them and can be that light of awareness for them to embrace that perspective too. And then you're less alone. But remember that you're never alone. My heart is so full. Like, you're so beautiful. You have such a beautiful energy. I don't want to leave you, but I do need to leave you. So pile 4. That's where I'm going to leave this reading. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background. That's one of the simplest and easiest ways to show support and appreciation for my channel and support me. But if you'd like to support me in other ways, you can like this video, comment down below, let me know how it resonates. You can subscribe if you haven't already, and click that little notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new reading. You can check out my merch, you can check out my social media, you can check out my candles. Be sure to use code ISA10 for 10% off. You can check out my other videos, especially ones with extendeds, but that's all I have for you guys. So thank you so much for watching and for letting me read for you. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye!